Hi. I started the marketing for my last book, project, performance thing, Party Boy, with an image of Joseph Merrick. That's what I want my public image to be, the Elephant Man of literature. I wanted to dive into what most public figures fear the most: total ostracization, rejection, and mispronunciation. It didn't take much effort. I could no longer trust anyone and had to test the flammability of every bridge for my own sanity. Creatively, I wanted to lean into the cringe, publish things that should have stayed private, write the way drunks talk. After the dissolution of Longshot Books and seeing behind the scenes how political and legalistic the social scene of writers can be, I wanted to rediscover the childlike innocence of creativity. You don't write because you want praise or rewards, but because you love writing, and your mind is pregnant with this idea you feel a responsibility to give birth to. I need to free myself from the prison cell of what others may think about me and my art. You keep a daily performance up for so long, though, and that becomes a habit. I got addicted to writing. The dopamine rush of posting a new piece, like a band dropping a single, became a psychological requirement. I got hooked on the catharsis of oversharing. That was my morphine. My want to create became a need. The stage lights melted the mask onto my face. After that, I read a practice book on my phone, recorded a lot of performances I'll probably never release, just to get some reps in. I had this ambitious project idea I spent the past year working on, but if writing a book is a Sisyphean challenge, I made the incline too steep for my own step. I was writing for hours every day, sometimes spending an entire day on one sentence. I wrote while I ran, and my body's still janky from tripping due to the distraction. I'd over-caffeinate and drink myself sick to force myself upon inspiration. I realized that the book, to me, had become this white whale, and I was starting to feel like Ahab. I had developed a habit. Get it? I'm sorry. I might be able to finish this beast off, but doing so would have dragged me down. So, Sisyphus shrugged. I did my best, and I failed. But I like to think I didn't give up so much as let go. Maybe not giving in to a creative overdose was the true win. Or maybe that's a cope for being incapable of living up to my own standards. So that's how I spent the last 2.5 years. Thanks for asking. No, I could talk about myself all day. So when I wasn't asked not to, I was happy to make that opportunity. I'd deliver my own eulogy if I could, but that's why it's pronounced eulogy and not called melogy. I don't trust anyone to define me, though. I'm going to be eavesdropping the casket like, you could have thrown a compliment there somewhere, or at least made up a cool lie to make me sound good. More like eulogies. That's a weird thought. An era post-self. I don't know how people are going to deal with my death. Relief, maybe? They'll probably add some filters to the memory of me. Try to censor my former existence. That's why I have to write shit down, so people can't sand off my edges so easily. I like being difficult. I think the presence of an artist should be conflicting and contradictory. I guess that's trust issues. Will you abandon me for someone easier than me? Despite my best efforts to annoy, is there even anyone easier than me out there? If I seem convenient to people, will they just leave at the first hint of discomfort? If I wrote conventional literature, project an unambiguous self, and risk gaining an audience, how little would it take for that same following to pick up their torches and pitchforks and give chase? Then, why do all my superiors seem inferior? I tend to be Team Todd. Anyways, I'm probably going to die someday, and these books will be probably the only thing left of me behind. You can cremate me in a burning of my own books, but while I'm alive, it helps me to cope to think about these books as excuses for my existence and all the embarrassments contained therein. So, someday you'll be rid of me, but these words can still haunt you or something. I don't know. Personally, I can't imagine life without me. At this point, I feel expected to give some kind of toast or something, but I never made any bread. Maybe instead we can just say a prayer for all the people who didn't show up, wasting their time at some other book reading or a job or some bullshit, and ask God to forgive them for missing out. That was the first chapter of a book that I wrote and abandoned in 2024 titled... It had two titles. One title was Todd Daniel Crawford. It was a joke. I thought the idea of a self-titled book would be funny. But it was actually titled R.E. Acting. R.E. Acting, like a response to an email. So I haven't read that in quite a while. I'm trying to find... Here we are. Yeah, so I'm going to go over some readings here. I can't even find my books, my own copies. I'm going to have to use my phone, which is fine. So I'm going to go through those, and we'll see. It shouldn't take that long. 3 or 4 hours at the most. I figure screw it. Why not? Anyhow, that first piece was titled The Spotlight Defect, but I forgot to mention it. So this here is my football book, the book that I was talking about in that chapter of RE acting. The football tumbles into the night, propelling past the stage lights and into the ether beyond. It becomes a shooting star to wish upon, another coin dancing in the air, flaunting the power held in its indecision, a dreidel spinning across the table of the sky. It dips into the pool, the moon floats in like an animal, bowing its head at a watering hole, swinging back up to earth once replenished. It is a meteor, about to touch the earth's surface. The players race to catch it like flowers tossed at a wedding. With its crescendo reached, it saunters towards a player it has selected. The vehicle is chosen to deliver to his destination. It does not hear the band playing and the crowd cheering. It hears music only in physics, prayers only through actions. And this is the title. I don't like calling it by this title. You can't see my phone. That's so funny. I don't like saying the title. It's too hurtful, too emotional. So it's the football book. In any case, this is going to be an abridged version. It is going to be. I might put a swear in there. I might censor the swears. I don't want to say some of the stuff. It's really mean, and I feel bad for the characters. Also, it's for YouTube, and like I don't want to go like hard R rated, unrated director's cut on here, and maybe that'll give you something to check out the book for, because it's a different experience reading it rather than hearing it. So the more extreme stuff, and unfortunately a very vulnerable bit, a very tender moment between two characters, I think I'm going to cut as well, because the use of italics is so essential to that piece that I feel like it would just be a disservice, and it would make almost a mockery of that piece of writing and its intention for me to try to emulate that vocally. All right, so this is the first quarter, chapter titled Flaccid Competition, or Writing as a Combat Sport. On one end of the field, Gwen's forbidden lover prepares advancements to invade her home field, days after deflowering her in the forest. On the other, her former suitor, the homecoming humbug himself, sits on the bench after an explosion during practice this week. Tonight, her heart is a free agent. Despite her red uniform, she won't be celebrating the Lions this game. And she also isn't rooting for the Dragons with a green heart. She is cheering for war. Tonight is a testament to the chaos breaching the field from the box of this Pandora. I'm sorry. It's a funny book. She can be a homecoming queen and a locker room Lilith. I can't even see the next word. This is going to be a long recording session, apparently. Adam prefers to run the ball, and that's just fine with Patrick. His position on the field is one of pity, an opportunity to explore the half-hope that an echo of his father's battle cry rings out in his chest after all, not to mention cruel and unusual punishment not only to his assailant, Mike and the rest of the team, but also to Adam himself. He belongs on the bench, and Mike's place is on the field. Adam knows it. Not only does everyone on his team know it, but everyone on the other end of the line of scrimmage can tell. He feels as intimidating as a sheep in wolf's skin trying to run with the pack. So, if Adam wants to pump fake before taking off the other direction, that's no problem to Patrick. He can do without the dog piles. If Mike wants to fight for custody of the ball, that's between him and Adam, but Patrick is aware of his legacy status and isn't going to push it. If he had $1 for every time someone asked, "You Caleb's kid?" when they saw his jersey, and then saw the disappointment on their faces when he confirmed the fear that yes, this is the one and only heir to the legendary quarterback, he could ditch the team now because he wouldn't even need to apply for scholarships. The road boys can join and break apart, sizing each other up before recoupling like a cat and snake in battle. The two bodies interlock to form one mass of many limbs and backs, a writhing brain tearing itself apart with a storm of conflicting thoughts. In their mutual, conflicting passion, the two shades of many achieve a brief singularity, a harmonious dissonance. This beast finds comfort in the chaos of its brief existence before tearing itself apart to be reborn again, again, and again, a phoenix doomed to never learn its lesson. Its solitary orgy of self-violence repeats until purchase is made, or the grape the aggressors attempt to deliver dries up, or is abducted by the defense. It's a disgrace to have to share the bench with this prima donna. Jordan earned his spot on the sidelines. He shows up for practice every day, gives it his all. He trains over the summer, studies after his homework is done, tries out each season knowing he will barely make the cut if he is lucky. He's an authentic second string. He shouldn't have to sit next to one of the school's finest, congratulating the halls for his accomplishments on the gridiron and decorated for his track records. The teachers already graded him on a curve. What? It's an open secret. Now, he gets to ride the bench to victory? All because he threw a tantrum after practice and shoved Patrick? Loses the woman in his life so he starts acting like one to fill the void? There's no room for him here. For players like Jordan, this is a home away from home, a VIP spot to watch the game. The closest we'll come to playing half of them. This isn't some timeout corner. Not to mention, Patrick's far better company. Swapping him out from the sidelines to teach Mike a lesson and not being a crybaby is a bad trade for the first and second string. Instead of his friends sitting next to him so they could joke and gossip, it's an effigy of a football player, helmet on head, hanging low. This is all performance to him, a little protest. Well, Jordan might be seated next to him, but not in solidarity. That is why, when Mike asked if he could have a piece of gum, even though Jordan still had half a pack to go, he said he was all out. Smiling, Jordan takes a pack from his pocket, now that he's thinking about it, singles out one piece, disrobes it, and places the tab on his tongue. Let him watch. He hopes Mike notices. Mike doesn't. He's too preoccupied with the rehearsal of his own performance. This is one thing I'm going to have to self-censor because it's just so mean. I feel so bad. I don't even know. It's going to be tough. You're nothing. You're just another everybody. Your love has no value or else you wouldn't spend it on such trash. I shouldn't even waste my time talking to you, but I'm generous and stupid. Who cares what a whore thinks? Who cares what she feels? You're embarrassing yourself. It's disgusting. You're disgusting. You're never going to find another me. Someone who can run farther, faster than me. Someone who goes harder in the gym than me. I think it's going to be funny watching you try, but also pathetic. Everyone's laughing at you, but too polite to let you in on the joke. Maddie Thompson can see they are playing out of sync. Like if each instrumentalist in the band she stands in the rafters with, we're all playing different time signatures. That isn't complexity or innovation, but discoordination. She always saw the formations on the field as chords on dueling pianos trying to outplay each other, each player a key. In tonight's performance, the left hand of the pianist playing the lines is at odds with the right. One finger hammers a key in order to tune out its rival, while its counterpart on the other side of the field is too timid to be heard. On paper, the plays are melodic, but the conductor is failing to carry a tune. The timing's all off. The penalties for false starts and overly aggressive playing, transitions of the ball failing to connect it from one player to another, the players moving like ballet dancers performing different pieces across the same stage. It's all hard to watch as a drunken, out-of-key karaoke performance. It's obvious they're trying to brute force their way to the end zone, but the wall they form as a team is full of cracks for the opposition to run through in their lack of unity. Butting out the lyrics does not make for powerhouse performance when one cannot stay in key. She feels like she is seeing her favorite band live, and they are bombing. The kids can hear the football silently weeping, the nucleus of its heart crying out from inside the leather eggshell which it is cased. They want it back, to hold it, protect it, let it fly like a child up into the air and back into their own arms. This family of fathers can't bear to see their baby being carried away in the arms of M, as in Mary words, who try to divorce their formations. Isn't it weird that she never goes to games? She's probably cleaning out the raccoon droppings from under her bed. That double wide is about the size of your house. I don't care how big it is. I wouldn't want to live in the middle of that circus. I don't know, I mean, she's in all those AP classes. Maybe she's studying. I'm just saying, I wouldn't put up with that shit. Yeah, it'd be a real shame for her to miss on you chewing gum in the dugout while we carry the team. Well, we all know the real reason she's never here. She's hungover from her abortions. What? Don't act innocent. You don't say much, but you have ears. I literally don't know what you're talking about. It's some bizarre kink, a ritual for them. Adam knocks her up before every game, and she aborts it like a child sacrifice. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. Then explain how a team like ours has a winning streak like we're on. The other teams are worse. You can't just have an abortion every few days. She probably gets Medicare for being poor or has some annual subscription. Physically, that's impossible. That's the point. It's some trailer park black magic shit. Satan probably grants her hyperfertility so he can harvest her regularly. How else do you explain their attraction? You think Adam would actually like someone like her? She's just a vessel for him. A cheat code to a college scholarship where he can land and breed a real woman. Oh, when you put it that way, it makes total sense. Yeah, I'm convinced. We could probably move on now. Either of you bring your vapes? Yeah, it's in my car. What's the score, by the way? Try checking the scoreboard, genius. Luke hones in on the quarterback with laser focus. He hears the play being called but does not reroute. He has no intention of responding to the calls of his director when he has Mike whispering into his ear. He could stick to the stage directions and be forgotten, or step out of line and become a whistle rings out. Neutral zone infraction, 5 yards. That's okay. Take a few steps back and a deep breath. The missile's prepared to decimate the ground the wolf in black sheep clothing is standing on, whether the distance is 5 yards or 500 miles. He doesn't see or hear the snap, but recognizes his body reacting to the event. He pushes through 2 dragons in his way like opening double doors. The ball is out of the target's slimy claws, but animals don't need a sack to be buried. Luke lunges towards his prey with the intent to drive him 6 feet under upon impact. Sorry, I see what I did there. That's Nate Fisher. I don't want to say too much, but sack. That little bit there. Another whistle. They want him off the field. That's fine with Luke. His job is done. Billy York hasn't set foot in the locker room for 2 years, but his memory lives on. The legend of a haunting comforts the team. They pay tribute to him before breaking to play. For Billy sets him out to the field. Unexplained noises and missing items are attributed to Billy's pranks. Last week, Luke was calling out, "Oh, come on, Billy, give me my phone back," while combing the place for his phone before remembering he left it in the center console of his grandfather's car. In the preceding days, the ransacking of the locker room by the rivals wasn't just an invasion of their private space and defiling of their property. It was a desecration of a holy space. They vandalized the only church some of these boys have ever attended. The benches between lockers, the only pews they've ever sat at. The locker rooms have a confidentiality law. There's an unspoken pact to never let a word of what happens here into the outside world, especially not the facility this chapel was attached to. Men sob into each other's arms here. They announce breakups, the separation of parents, and impending relocation to other school districts. They see parts of each other they would never otherwise be exposed to, physically and emotionally, and they do not take this privilege for granted. If one walks into the shower and sees his brother rubbing one out into the drain, his needs are understood, and acknowledgement of the event unnecessary. The locker room is an enclosure where men can be animals without the judgment of the civilized world. Tensions were boiling among a minority of radicals loyal to Mike's cult of personality, but the rape of Sam's Locke, throwing his jersey to the floor and pissing on it, was first blood. The graffiti spray painted across their lockers, a vulgar mural of a dragon across the lures, was icing on the shit. The police investigation has yet to come to any conclusion, but the Lions have been waiting for this chance to execute. To them, this isn't just a game, but a public hanging of the bastards who dishonored them. They might have given the coach their word there'd be no retaliation, but they promised Billy they'd get their revenge on the field. It wouldn't take a detective to find the direction of a lead, but Mike made sure everyone knew and was unified against his target. He punched a dent into his own locker, shouting about those animals. Adam, still shirtless, was the one to try to talk him down with one hand on his shoulder. They may not see eye to eye, or like seeing much of each other at all, but he felt it was his duty as a quarterback. "Hey bro, I get why you're upset. We all do, but this wasn't Lance. There are like 30 guys on that team, and it might not even been the team themselves. I wouldn't like him either if I was you, but he's a good guy." "I'm sure he's a good guy," Mike seethed, "but I'm not." "Right. Well, think about it like this. Whoever did this is going to be in deep shit. The cops came to write a report. They're probably expecting something coming their way. Don't fall into that trap and get yourself in trouble. Let it motivate you in the gym. We can spank them on the field." Mike turned away. To Adam, he looked like a diva, spinning on the catwalk before strutting his way out, jersey, pads, and helmet still on. Let him go, Adam tells himself. He can get pulled over for speeding, looking like a fool in a Halloween costume. "If I hear anything of retaliation," Adam announces, "know that I'll be the one to rat you out. That goes for everyone. If you do anything stupid, I'll make sure you're off the team. We're lions, for Christ's sakes, not dragons." Someone interjects. Adam shook his head while lowering it. He tried. It was Patrick, the run of the Lions, little brother to all, who tried intercepting Mike's dramatic exit. "Hey, Mikey, forget about..." Mike shoves him into a locker. The sound of banging echoes throughout the locker room. At first, everyone took a step back. Then some of the stockier boys cautiously approached in case intervention was necessary. "Shut the fuck up," Mike yelled while Patrick whimpered apologies. "That's it, Mike," Coach thundered. Everyone so distracted by the outbreak they hadn't noticed him enter the room. "You're on the bench Friday. I won't tolerate that shit off my field, and I won't have it on my field. Patrick, make sure you're hydrated. You're in." Patrick looked like he was the one who had just been punished. Mike extended a hand and helped him out of the locker. "I'm sorry, Patty," he said with sincerity. To his teammates, it looked like watching a werewolf regain his humanity after the full moon gives way to the sun. "You didn't deserve that." All right, second quarter. There's 4 chapters if you didn't guess. A violent brush stroke on a pastoral. Ooh. Chapter 2. A violent brush stroke on a past oral. Thanks for coming. Nice to get a little serotonin outside of class. Yeah, I love flopping around the water. It's so peaceful here. A little cold this time of year, but so pretty with the leaves. How's Adam been? You should know. You spend more time with him than I do. Around him. Same difference. I don't talk about us anyways. He talks about us enough for the both of us, apparently. So I hear. That's really fucked up. It's a snake. It's a stick. It's a snake. Calm down, it's just a stick floating downstream. The stick snaps towards Mike, wiggling and splashing water up. Sierra erupts into a fit of laughter as he scrambles to escape from the river. His fingers can't seem to make purchase in the muddy bank. He pulls himself up by a loop of tree veinage sticking out from the earth. He scrambles onto land, flopping onto his belly, flipping into a crab walk position, and then launching himself upright, facing the trees. Here's giggling, and turns around to see her standing with her arms in the air, a scaly rope coiling from her grip. She holds it by the pendant, pressing thumb gently down on top of its skull to hold it in place. "Sierra, what if that's venomous?" "He isn't." "How do you know it's a he?" "Because of his cock." "Where do you see that?" She erupts into a fit of laughter, nearly doubling over. The serpent used this opportunity to wrap himself around her forearm. She doesn't seem to mind. Mike is wincing at the sight of this. "You can't see it. Can you imagine how sore it'd be? Getting dragged across the ground all day?" The hint of a smile cracked across Mike's face. "And can you see how thin he is? This guy doesn't have any room in his body for venom." I don't think. "Here, take a picture of us and I can text my papa. He's a taxidermist, so he should know." "Sierra, I don't want to get close enough to that thing to take a pic." She pivots the snake's head so they are facing each other. "That's okay. I trust him. With a face like this, he wouldn't hurt anyone. He's just a cute little gentleman." "If he's so cute, why don't you give him a kiss?" She puckers her lips theatrically, swaying back and forth in the water. As she leans in, she feels the snake change, movement in its body that's preparing to lunge towards her with whatever little freedom it still has. She shrieks, shooting her arm out, breaking free from its grip, and tosses the snake downstream. Maybe I was gonna write our names here on one of these trees, but maybe I'll put SS. Why SS? Your name and snake. That's not my name. Sierra's not your name? I'm not on a mountain to climb and put a flag on, Michael. The awkward bulge in front of his pants would disagree with that statement. My name is spelled with the letter C. Oh, he scratches the back of his head. Sorry. Cierra. And don't forget the I. What, do you people think your name is spelled like water? Around here, people can't spell their own names, let alone anything unique. And why did you invite me out here? Well, we were working on the chemistry project. I knew you lived right by this stream. He'd been Googling relationship advice on his phone before class began. Came across "love the one you're with," turned to his left, and saw her. He took that as a sign. I'm starting to vibe that Gwen doesn't know you invited me out here. Who cares about her? I do. She's my classmate and she's always been nice to me. That didn't match whatever Mike had heard Gwen say to her friends, but he wasn't going to break it to her now. And you do, Mike. You don't want to hurt Gwen. He didn't. And in retrospect, he regretted that his temptation could do so much damage. He knew he was playing with fire, but it'll never happen to you until it does. It was never his fault that Miss Williams paired them together as class partners. just like it isn't his fault that he began to look forward to the second period. What was he supposed to do savoring the scent of her perfume? Prick the insides of his nostrils as an excuse to stuff them with tissue paper? What if it wasn't the devil compelling him to tell her every detail about his life but God? And why did he have to make every scrap of her life story the wind blew his way the most interesting thing he'd ever heard? Is it so terrible that he wants to break the jaw of every classmate dishonoring her with salacious rumors just because another boy's textbooks are in her locker? How is he at fault for never knowing such a person was a possibility until he's already committed to another? She was a color he didn't know existed, a flavor he hadn't yet met. To him, she was both angel and alien. She taught him in their short time together there could be more to life than school, practice, games, running a ball up the same field forever. Her existence is a beautiful dissonance in the hellish harmony of repetition his life had become. Before her, he never knew there were other options in the life than he had found himself trapped in and was now desperate to break free from, just as he never knew prior to her there were other colors of lipstick than red. He knew their time together was short, and he missed her already. Condemned to a future he could only dread, he took a leap of faith and can now feel that he landed on his face. He can't hold it against himself for hearing the siren song in her voice. Without seeming to notice, she pumped him full of heroin and made an addict of him. He can't blame himself for being a mortal man, just like he can't find fault in lashing out in the existential pain of his lost potential. Does he want Gwen back? Yes, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't do it all over again for another chance at the other life he could just almost see in the reflection of that river. Damn, he wished he was here. He'd trade each and every person in the crowd for her singular attendance. Hell, he'd throw in the rest of the team to his end of the bargain. The sight of her cheering him on would be enough for him to take on all the dragons solo. But that's just not how life works sometimes. Gotta love the one you're with, he reminds himself, turning towards Gwen in the sidelines. Of course, Adam knows all about this averted affair. He talks to his girlfriend. She writes him a note every day for the morning, another during study hall if she's all caught up on her academics. She mentioned that he had asked her if she'd like to go swimming before lunch that day. He said he didn't give a shit. He did. He trusted that Mike couldn't be trusted, but he also knew he could count on Mike to fuck up his own short-sighted plan. There's no way Sierra would be interested in such a base creature as him. Would she? Okay, he might have missed a few hours of sleep the night before and after this rendezvous, but who wouldn't? Adam reminded himself that he has no right telling her who she can and cannot see. But if there was ever a time that he wanted to, it was then. She reported that nothing happened, but that wouldn't be the first time those words were used in their relationship. Just the thought of his hands on her naked thigh, he can't think. Look at him without his eyes drifting to those lips, wondering where they've been. He tries not to gaze into Mike's brown eyes to see what they've seen, some remnant of his private property. Had he somehow, by some devilish trick, gotten further than Adam could hope to get? If so, how? Of all men, why him? In any case, Mike got what was coming to him. That was a straw to break the camel's back. Gwen tolerated a lot of shit, but there's no way her ego could survive the indignation of sticking by a man who took a trip to the forest with the nymph of their class. Adam might have confided in Inez, who told Stephanie, who told Mike to go to hell in front of the whole cafeteria, which was all Gwen needed to hear to start crying. Stephanie walked her to the bathroom, holding her like she was helping the elderly woman across the street. Did Mike know Adam was the one to plant the seed that poisoned his relationship? Adam cared about as much as Mike cared if Adam found out about his dip in the river. After all, Mike was the one who sold Adam the very seed of his own destruction. Fuck it all. Adam's here to win games and earn scholarships. Mike can tear himself and everyone in his vicinity apart as much as he likes. Adam's not going to let anyone's blood stain his jersey. He's here to do a job. Paul's a chronic masturbator. Actually, no. Paul is a chronic masturbator. He's been clean for 3 weeks and 4 days, if he can survive tonight's temptations. He tried praying when he felt the urge at night, like his pastor suggested when he was going to Carleton Catholic, but it felt like stabbing Jesus in the face when he would inevitably end the one-sided conversation to relieve himself. Each night was an arm wrestling match between good and evil, until recently the devil had been on a winning streak. The only way Paul knew to stop him was to punch the hand that committed the sin, so he took a kitchen knife to his left palm. Fortunately, this isn't his dominant hand for most things. He only began using it for the sole function as an experiment, to see if it felt like someone else was doing the job for him. Not that he had or has any experience with which he could compare. He was worried for the first few days that his fresh scars would immediately be identified and he'd be placed in a psych ward, but they didn't turn out to be that hard to hide. Keep a clenched fist or a flat hand against any surface and you're fine, he told himself. Turns out he was right. The problem was, the devil wasn't ready to give up that easily. He made a playground of Paul's dreaming mind. On a few occasions, he woke to a crime scene in his pajama bottoms. He didn't know what to do. Tell his parents the devil was possessing his body to jack off in his sleep, or never allow himself to fall asleep again. Both options appeared equally suicidal, so he started slicing into his other palm as well. In theory, the discomfort of the skin against open cuts should wake him. What else could he do? He figures that self-mutilation is probably a sin, but God might understand other circumstances. After all, he said it's better to cut off the hand that sins than to let it keep sinning or something like that. He can't cut his hands off because he might die of blood loss or get taken off the team unless they decide to keep him on as a kicker. So this will just have to do until he graduates high school. It doesn't make things easier, but he'd rather have the discomfort in his life than an eternity in hell. In the meantime, he keeps his hands gloved and hopes it doesn't affect his playing. Home, 18, away, 15, 34 seconds left on the scoreboard. Mike has the ball. The defense is on his heels, but he remains a step ahead. They don't even exist to him. The only reality is his next step. Like Patty sings at practice, 1 foot, and for a moment he is airborne, and the football drifts from his gloves in this moment without gravity into the grasp of his enemy as the dog paw begins to swell. Beneath their bodies, he whimpers. He wants to stay buried, to hide beneath the shell of humans. He already knows that even once the layers are peeled away, he will be unable to walk. He remains on the ground even after he feels the spotlights heating his body. He knows the defense is extending their hands to help him up. He hears our voices knocking on the drums of his ears, but he isn't ready to let that world back in. He keeps his leaky eyes clamped shut. The thought of even moving the ankle of the leg that betrayed him in what could have been his finest moment, let alone the putting the pressure of his body onto it, is unthinkable. If he couldn't rely on it then, how could he now? Even though everyone is crowded around him, the only thing that exists in his crumpled up body, the spotlights, and his shame. He hopes to be crippled in this moment so there's no chance for him to ever relive it. Instead, that moment never ended. It became his life. The tendon healed, but the mind did not. His shame became his self, and his soul condemned to fumble forever. Jack can't believe that F-slur coach is actually risking the game to make some moral point. Maybe seeing him humiliate himself and our team to some private school fairies will be the camel to break the camel's back. And they'll finally put a real leader in charge. You put your best players in the field and you win. It is that simple. He probably saw something of himself in the twerp running back, some belated make-a-wish for a terminal bench warmer. He thinks he's pulling some Rudy crap, but he doesn't realize no one even remembers or cares about that loser except Hollywood liberals and other losers. Even those male ballet players visiting will see the Griffin has a broken wing and learn how to quarter them by halftime when they notice Mike would rather be sacked than throw the ball to his left. Save the sermons for Sunday morning. Fridays are for murder. Always have been. The real question is whether coaches would shake hands after the game or give each other a kiss on the cheek. Scott plops down on the bench, feeling as uncomfortable as he did a moment before when awkwardly standing in front of it, during which time he overheard Luke asking if he did the right thing in sacking the Dragon QB, to which Mike replied, "There's no such thing as right or wrong on the field, only winning." He knows he's not welcome here. He can feel the teenage angst undulating like tendrils of smoke from the cave of Mike's helmet. 11, he begins. "I want to cut a deal with you." No response. Now, I can't have players on my field who don't show lines of values, but one of our values is no lion left behind. I know what I saw the other day in that locker room wasn't you. Believe it or not, I was a teenager once too. I was on this team second string, glorified water, but boy, didn't have what you have. Couldn't run a ball, could hardly throw a spiral. I studied hard, and that got me where I am today. I didn't put you on this bench to punish you. I'm having you sit this one out to take a step back. Now think about all you accomplished and where you want to go from here. I would have killed to have your talent, and as an adult and as your coach, I can't see you wasted on an ego. I could care less about sissy fits in the locker room. Patty's tougher than he looks. It might do him good to touch some turf. Remind him that we want him on this team, not just his father's son. I'm worried about you, Mike, not my running back. Might seem like forever from now, but in a few years you'll be graduated, and if I'm still coaching this team, there will be another. There will always be more running backs in this world. I just want you to hear your side of that story. Help me understand what you're going through so I can help you out. Help me with that one thing, and I'd be glad to put you back on the field. Nothing. Might as well have set it all to a brick wall. Except this is worse because brick walls don't get pissed at you. He puts a hand on Mike's shoulder pad. Both of them can sense the discomfort in this action. Think about it. I'll break to say, I hope that it doesn't come as offensive, the stutter. The character was inspired by somebody that I'd spoken to on the phone at some business, sparing details, and he had a very, very severe stutter, and it really touched me. I mean, this was 2020 when it happened, and I still think about the dude like literally 5 years later. So I had a lot of anxiety that would be misinterpreted in some way. But I just kind of wanted to represent that because I don't know, that really lingered with me. Patrick feels each pupil of the crowd burning his skin. His father is living in their eyes, judging him. I wouldn't have done that, they say in his voice. If I was on that field, we'd have already won. Two opposing walls are constructed of these hundreds of insectoid eyes, and they are both closing in on him. They strip him of his armor, spinning him around the field naked until he no longer can tell which end zone will bring victory. The disoriented actor stumbles blindly across the stage, face melted by a spotlight defect. He keeps running forward like an animal in fear. Moving ahead is good. Each step unimpeded by the opposition is a minor victory. One foot in front of the other, pushing the world behind him, and the Dragons take a knee in solidarity. The Lions don't know what to do, so they follow suit. One player is on both knees with his helmet off, crying, I'm sorry. His prayers are unanswered. He lets out a no! I don't know. Sorry. At the sight of paramedics approaching with a gurney. They scoop the body up and carry it off. Everyone is too afraid and too respectful to move, frozen in this moment. No one will admit it to anyone but themselves, but they are torn between wishing he was never put on this field and wanting him back on it. Not every man is made for war. He isn't yet aware, but the seed of Scott's resignation begins to sprout beneath his cap like a tumor becoming malignant. The inconsolable dragon is retired and replaced with a more stable unit. Mike, field, Scott says. We can talk later. Mike stands dutifully. With its severed paw transplanted, the lion prepositions itself into a T. No one could tell you the final 3 minutes of the second quarter. If members of the audience were to be shown footage of the game, this would be the first time they'd ever seen it. Most wouldn't care to. The halftime show plays like a funeral dirge. All right, yeah, back to Scott, Coach Scott. I really wanted, because I realized I was writing the character, and this was back in 2019. I was writing this like it was Friday Night Lights, my favorite TV show, and typical sports movies, and I was like, I don't want that. This isn't trying to be that. I want to be completely my own thing, hopefully. And so I realized that later on, of course, because much later when stuttering was on my mind, taking away that cadence of a typical coach would be immediately subversive and interesting and dynamic in a way that I'd never seen. And also show a coach, hopefully. I like the character Scott a lot. Hopefully portray that in a way that's cool. To show you can still do that stuff even with a stutter, even though Scott has his own personal trials. It's not related to his speech impediment. So I write characters, not representations. All right, halftime/homecoming. Hey, Paul, you have to pray for this one. I'll make sure we beat their asses. He's praying for Patty, dumbass. I'm not praying to win. I'm praying for God to have mercy on them because they have to deal with us. This riles the team up. Luke is shadowboxing, nearly striking Mike, who's standing with a hand pressed against the locker, looking like he's about to vomit on the helmet. Neither seems to notice. First what they did here, now Patty, Luke growls. They should consider themselves lucky if I'm benched. They should consider themselves lucky I'm benched. Adam bites his tongue. So long as they take it on the field and boost their stats as a team, they can say whatever they want to hype themselves up in the locker room. He lets the world fade away for just a moment with palms pressing against both sides of his temple. I know you're worked up right now, Coach announces, finally entering the locker room, stinking like nicotine. We all are. What just happened was a terrible thing. Nobody meant for that to happen, especially not the poor kid who tackled him. I don't think any of us can imagine what he's going through right now. It wasn't his fault. It wasn't anybody's fault. Patrick knew the risk when he signed up for the team, just as you all did. Even though there's a lot of tension right now, we all know Patty wouldn't want anyone taking it out on the other team. That's not who he is. That's not who we are as Lions. What he would want is a clean, respectful game. Can we do that for him? The team agrees in the tone of one answering to disciplinary action. For Patrick, Adam declares. For Patrick. Interior, homecoming. This scene's written like a play. Children dance as chaperones monitor their plays like referees. All the songs you'd expect are playing. There's... Lil Wayne joke, sorry. There is no ceiling tonight. Only stars and a crescent moon. Gwen pounds her feet on the dance floor. Gwen, come on, Mikey. Dance with me. Mike, I can't. I hate this song. Gwen, you said that about every song. It's true. Why did they pick a substitute gym teacher to DJ this thing? Hey, kids, want to listen to some Journey? Don't be mean, she pushes his chest. Mr. Cooper's doing a great job. And what's wrong with Journey? My parents danced them at their wedding. Exactly. It's old. The human race has listened to enough Journey for the rest of humanity. What if I want to dance to Mac Miller? You don't even listen to Mac Miller. Because when I do, I have to dance. Then request a song. If I did that, he'd have to put his hearing aid in. He'd think I was introducing myself. He'd think, Mike Miller? She smiles. They both laugh. Oh, I see Adam and Sierra. Let's see how they're doing. Michael, we've been sitting and talking all night. They saunter across the dance floor to a round table where the couple is sitting. Their chairs are turned towards each other, and Sierra's arms and legs are wrapped around Adam's body. Adam makes no effort to conceal the two guests are interrupting a moment. Mike, how's that chemistry coming tonight? Sierra slurring. What have we done to deserve this honor of homecoming royalty at a round table? Adam, not too much. We're just a couple at homecoming right now, trying to enjoy each other's company. He takes a flask from his jacket interior pocket and swigs. Mike, hey, do you mind if I take a little of that? Adam passes it to him. Thanks, I owe you. You can roll one more ball next game if you want. He grabs an abandoned cup from the table, shaking it upside down so the final drop splashes the floor. Gwen, Mike, you don't even know whose cup that is. Mike, we're all lions here. That's disgusting. Mike fills the cup almost halfway with clear liquor and returns it to Adam. Gwen notices Mike averting his gaze when Sierra redirects Adam towards her kiss. Adam, thanks for saving some for the rest of us. Mike, no, thank you. He drifts back to the refreshment table without any further word or notion of his dismissal. There's an uncomfortable moment of Gwen, Sierra, and Adam exchanging confused glances before Gwen takes the hint and follows her suitor. By the time she catches up to him, the cup has already been filled with juice and half emptied. What was that all about? What was what? You don't drink. You wanted me to loosen up, so I'm doing it. His face shifts into a mischievous, goofy grin as he processes the alcohol. Dr. Jekyll has become Mr. Hype. He taps his feet across the floor erratically, waving finger guns in each direction like a cowboy in dispute with everyone in the room. Mike, calm down. But this is our song. No, we don't even have a song. We do. It's this. Gwen tries to keep pace, maintaining some semblance of symmetry, but he's worrying her. He steps on her feet multiple times and keeps bumping in the back of Patrick, who's trying to share a slow dance with Maddie Thompson. He taps on Patty's shoulder, apologies. Who are you here to dance with? The lady or the lion? Sorry, Michael, I just didn't mean... It's okay, Patrick. Mike's just a little bit of a klutz. She grabs him by the arm, dragging him back to a table. Michael, what has gotten into you? And don't tell me it's the alcohol. I don't know how to dance. Nobody knows how to dance. You just feel it. I get nervous. Nervous? Why are you nervous? We're here to have fun. Aren't you having a good time? I am. I didn't mean to say nervous. I'm just stupid, Gwen. I'm a stupid person who does stupid things sometimes. And I can't help it. If that's a joke, it isn't funny. You're not stupid, Michael. Do you think I'm stupid? No. If I'm smart, and I think you aren't stupid, then you can't be stupid. A smart person would know if you were. You're right, Gwen. I didn't want to say it, but my ankle's bothering me tonight. Your bad leg? Mike contemplates the surface of the table. Yeah. Still? She wraps him up in her arms. Baby, you should have just told me. I don't want you worrying about me, especially on your night. This is third quarter, a serotonin smile, with the I in brackets. The word smile, all except for the letter I, is capitalized, like Brian Wilson Presents. Third quarter. This part I'm going to cut out because it's a nice moment of vulnerability and intimacy, but unfortunately I can't recreate it in a way that's not farcical, and I want to respect the material. But the important thing that I do want to convey with it is that it shows, and this is very, very important to the themes of the book, is that the teenage boys who are virgins, who don't have experience with the opposite sex, they talk about those things cartoonishly, over the top. That's locker room talk. But then the real moment of actual physical intimacy is portrayed as very vulnerable and emotional, and the exact opposite is really the important thing I'd like to add to this. Book's available on Amazon, and the chapter's there. Colin might be playing for the away team, but to him, this is a home game. He can visualize himself as an old man, sitting on the porch, hearing the band play and the crowd cheer. His mother will be there after all. That will be in her name. And everything will be just like his grandparents kept it before their passing. It was odd to see the old yard he used to spend Friday nights slipping and sliding in redecorated and enjoyed by other kids. But he told himself to let them have their childhood, and he can keep his memories. After all, they're only renting until Colin is drafted the NFL and can buy it off them at any cost. Jeremy isn't watching the apes in costumes paw each other for a ball. He has greater things on his mind than running from one end of the field to another and trying to stop someone else from doing the same. The pages in front of him are truly animated. So, when his family stands to applaud his jerk brother, he remains seated, encased in the binding of the volume, like he himself is a word printed on his page. And the cheerleaders are no temptation to him, with a sophisticated yearning for the coupling of minds. He has no need for the horror of such a brute decorated in his jersey to advertise to the whole school whose property she is. The coarse hands of their suitors are more fitted for violence and pleasure. I'm not going to go say the sentence. It takes the dexterous fingers accustomed to flipping pages to satisfy a woman. His ambitions reach above a goalpost to the libraries of university, the kind of places activities such as this could never deliver a burgeoning scholar. Chris Anthony Moon doesn't look, but he appreciates the other boys don't shy away when he walks through the locker room. When he first found himself, he thought his presence would make them uncomfortable, and so he changed in the bathroom. That was until he heard a knocking on the stall one day. I'm in here, he said, one half a pant leg on his left thigh. Why do you change in the bathroom? It was Lance. Chris took a deep breath. I'm gay, he announced for the first time ever. Cool. So why do you change in the bathroom? Are you germophobic or something? Ever since then, Chris has been changing in the open like he's one of the boys. And he is. His teammates don't treat him like he's any different, and he doesn't walk around erect, at least more than anyone else. They bend over like there's no threat of them taking advantage of the opportunity, and that means a lot to him. If anyone is avoiding anyone in the Dragons locker room experience, it's Chris, steering clear of the boys he'd like to kiss. To him, each time he runs onto the field is a gay pride parade. Colin watches his offense like a man watching construction workers work on his home. He stands with the hint of a smile, and one arm angled like it should be holding a beer. Each yard is another nail driven home, each goal another plank added to his mother's house. Claire is cheering for the Dragons, but by the end of the night, she'll be screaming for a lion. Gosh darn. She finds that romantic, like Romeo and Juliet. Their forbidden affair that no one could know about, except whoever opened the door on them at a party. Adam isn't so sentimental, at least not with her. A hole in zip for anyone. She isn't dumb enough to believe she's his only extracurricular partner, but his heart is reserved for the only one who won't lay with him. He only wants what he can't have, and any teenage girl in this field, heck, even in the audience, would be on their knees for him at the snap of his fingers. He longs for the one who isn't here for him, who is never here for him. She is preserved in the amber of his imagination. To him, she is the Madonna. Even if she bore his child, he wouldn't accept her as anything less than pure. He is caught up on the puzzle. He has made of this unsexed portrait of a lady. Maybe she isn't ready yet. Wants the first time to be something out of fairy tale, a technicolor tryst in the woods with singing animals. Maybe she just doesn't see him that way, but knows he's too good of a catch to let go. And so she strings him along. One thing she knows is that his leaky, red eyes weren't lying when he confessed his frustration to her one night after they shared a post-coital spliff. He always asked her what she sees in her crystal ball, that she can make a fortune on gambling which couple would break up when, that she can read people like a psychic reads palms. Her vision is murky on this one, but her intuition tells her that he sees her locked legs as his own failure as a man and cannot leave before solving the puzzle of her sensuality, because to him, that is a reflection of his own self-worth. And to abandon that is to accept his insecurities as accurate. It's hard to see, but she thinks that her crystal ball says that he will continue the charade of bouncing between his virgin wife and whore confidant until one or the other has had enough of this. Claire has a feeling it's not going to be her. Ken's parents told him in the children's hospital that he'd have to step up. The whole family would, with his sister in her new condition. By then, they were gradually adjusting to the shock of it all and beginning to accept their new mode of life. For Ken, this meant babysitting while his parents worked their jobs to help with the cost of these new requirements. The earliest months of these afternoons were spent on the couch, watching cartoons or video games. This changed one morning when he couldn't find his playbook before school. They were in a rush and he had to leave for school without it. He was met with an apology in the van after practice, the kind of soft apology a child gives after the parental prelude of, "Your sister has something she wants to tell you." Ken tore through the binder the moment his sister handed it to him, expecting to see flowers planted across the pages and pink hearts swelling over the formations. Instead, he found questions in the margins, notations about how to remember the formations and when to run what. He didn't mention it in front of their parents. She was crying and the moment was awkward enough. The next Thursday, when Dad was working his double and Mom was at her second job, during the commercial break of some girly show about teenage drama he was ashamed to confess he paid more attention to than the playbook, he held up like a celebrity concealing their face with the newspaper. In public, he brought it up. "Do you want to play football?" Allie looked confused. "They're not going to let me..." She's not a leprechaun. "They're not going to let me cheer on the field." "But do you want to?" "No." "Then why did you steal my playbook?" "I wanted to learn about what you do." It was stupid. The commercial for margarine came to an end and the program resumed. Soon, they'll find out who sent Lush that text confessing their love. Could it be Sean? I don't think it's stupid. You don't? No, it's cool. Most girls like stuff like this. I like stuff like this. But it would be cool if girls like sports too. Maybe then we'd have something to talk about. Well, what's the difference between his pistol and shotgun? The distance from the quarterback to the center? But what's the distance? He shook his head. I don't remember, Allie. The pistol is 4 yards, but the shotgun is 8. Think about it like this. What's longer? A shotgun? Yeah, it's like twice as long as a pistol. Think about it like that. All right, that makes sense. No luck on the secret admirer. Turned out to be that creep Dickie, who got a new phone after his old one was smashed in a fight a few episodes ago. Everybody already knows Dickie. No one cares. Hey, I have an idea. You? Ha ha. Want to go outside? For what? Come on, I'll show you. He hopped off the couch and led the way out the front door and down the ramp. After circling the house, Ken set the binder on the tray of her chair and opened it. You call a play and I'll do it. Like, act as if I'm playing against an imaginary team. There's only one of you. Yeah, because I'm playing on a pretend team too. I'll name an offense, and you can show me how you'd stop them. Good call, that works. Since then, Ken has granted Allie dual ownership of his playbook, studying the plays and testing his own knowledge. Most of his acting out defenses was just play, but she helped him memorize offenses she'd be up against as well as other trivia. He didn't know if she even cared about football, but he wasn't so sure he was doing it to get better at the sport himself. She became his coach and muse. Each game became an opportunity to show his sister all that time she had spent studying plays. All their work wasn't for nothing. To him, this is all resistance training. The boy who couldn't protect his sister from that red minivan speeding past a school bus stop sign grew up to be the man who could have. Quick side note here. The character names were originally Austin and Allie, like the show. I think my sister watched that. I have a specific memory of it being on the TV when she was younger, so that stuck with me for some reason. Also, the shotgun pistol details. I forget what I said specifically. That's incorrect on purpose. That's a reference to the Joanna Newsom song Emily about her sister. So, fun trivia for you. It's just a game. Oh, wait. Sorry. I just skipped a section. Joey has made it. The turf feels like red carpet tonight. It has always been his dream to play with his older brother, and here he is. They might not share a father or live under the same roof 5 days a week, but tonight they would share a field. It doesn't matter if there's a blowout, no matter what side it's on, because Joey's already won. His biggest concern is looking across the line of scrimmage and bearing a toothy smile if he makes eye contact with Lawrence. It's just a game, Lance reminds himself. Don't take things so personally. Yes, the sack was a little out of pocket, but that kid has a reputation for anger issues. He plays football because there's no more violent option. If he could sign up for a lynching team, he probably would. Everybody knows this, just as everyone knew there'd be some tensions after whatever happened in the Lions locker room. He had nothing to do with that. So far as he knew, none of the Dragons had anything to do with that, and he'd kick their ass if he found out. That's not who they are as a team. Still, the fuck you seasoned in every tackle, the attitude and the victory dance after every field goal did add some salt to the wound. Lance can't blame them. He may not know better, but he may not be better if he was in their position. Knowing himself, he certainly has a potential for such spite. The real question he has to ask himself is if he has the restraint to control those urges. He tries to see the opposition not as enemies but spotting partners, testing him and refining his own craft as a quarterback rather than a rival. Of course, they don't seem so much like an extension of the team when they are favored by the scoreboard, but some lessons need to be taught the hard way, and it's Lance's job to swallow that pill humbly. Even with all the therapeutic coaching and perspective in the world, he is a man. He can tell that he's also a little sore himself. Not from the sack, but seeing his girl cheering on the other team on. Like everything else on this stage, it's just a performance. When an actress kisses her co-star, it isn't a romantic fulfillment, but a job. Fair or unfair, he doesn't see his girl over another guy, or wearing his Letterman for that matter. He takes a deep breath through his nose, exhales through his mouth, and does it again. Let your actions speak for you, and their actions can speak for their character. Scott feels a buzzing in his jacket pocket, reaches his hand into the pouch, feeling his wedding ring get snagged along the lining track, and checks it as discreetly as possible. I'm trying to think of a substitute word. Runt. The affectionate nickname he christened his ex-wife in his phone. Just who he was hoping it wasn't. He mouths the word, emergency, to his other coach and receives a nod. With his recess confirmed, he jogs to the locker room, careful not to appear in too great a rush. In shelter, he retreats from the voice of the crowd in the womb of the shower. He lights a cigarette before tapping to call her back. Hey, he can hear crying in the background, incomprehensible words slurring from the intoxication of tears. Everything all right? Guess what I found in your son's backpack? I don't have time for guessing games. Right, you're too busy with your team to just tell me what's going on. I called you back. Cigarettes, Scott. Is he smoking? No, he's planning a birthday party for his friend and wanted to put them on the cake. What kind of question is that? Scott recalls collecting odd trinkets in his youth. Spent shotgun shells, cigarette butts, empty bottles of beer, anything he wasn't supposed to have. The objects were harmless, removed from the context and a use, no different than a bird scooping up human things to add to its nest. Your son has cigarettes. Didn't he tell you where he got them? He won't tell me anything. None of my family smokes, Scott. Now don't go implying anything. I put my cigarettes away. I don't leave them on the table. He probably got them from a friend at school and doesn't want to tell on him. Let me talk to him. I don't want to fucking talk to him. Scott heard that much clearly, as well as some things about his presence as a father he would rather have not heard. He takes a deep breath and reminds himself of the things he said to and about his parents as a teenager. He doesn't want to talk to you, Scott. Let me talk to my son. He's already upset. It'll only make things worse. His next appointment with Dr. Neiman is Wednesday. I'll bring it up with him. Then why even call me? You know I'm at work. I just thought you should know. He disconnects the line, drops his cigarette and stamps it out. He collects the soggy butt to throw into the trash on his way back to the sidelines. You'd think the divorce would have been the end of it. Turns out, it was just the beginning of a new era of disputes. His father said he'd see better without all that hair on his face, but right now Sam's blinded with rage. Even if his father knew that Crystal would tell him she's no longer attracted to him with the new fade, he wouldn't have listened. If their relationship, which he invested 3 months of his life nurturing, died on the vine, that was a positive. She might be a cheerleader, but what kind of respectable girl would pierce her nose? The last time she came over, he made some dumbass remark about how cattle have their septums pierced. At least he didn't end this one with another dusty punchline about her vegan lifestyle. The patriarch probably smiled, dropping off at Greg's house for band practice, knowing the isolation he would feel being the only member with hair above shoulder length. He's probably hoping to get the news that his son's been kicked out. If the plan is a great enough success, he can perform a complete factory reset on the boy, choose a style and social life, require his consent before a curiosity or interest can be explored with a parental lock on the world. Sam was the coolest, toughest teenager of all time, and he'd be damned if his son was going to act like some queer metalhead. He was supposed to tolerate that embarrassment each Sunday morning. The only long-haired gentleman welcomed his church was Christ himself. Captain America reads comics about Sam's high school years. Ferris Bueller stole his moves. Tom Cruise started risky business because Sam was too busy marathoning the cheerleading teams of every school this side of the state. He was such a god of a 17-year-old that he grew up into his own disciple, a scholar dedicated to studying his own autobiography. If anyone could crowbar this boy into shape, it'd be him. To his father, he was a block of marble to be sculpted in the mirror image of into the mirror image of the self he sees in the rose-tinted mirror of nostalgia. The superego of his youthful memories didn't have locks, so best pay some butcher to shear the imperfection to a more marketable fade. Sam donated the locks to cancer patients, but truly they were tributes to the lord of the house he was born into. Why else would he name his first son after himself? Shit, if he'd been born a she, would she be named Samantha? In the car before the game, his father was delivering some sermon meant to motivate him tonight, some legend he had watched on TV and recast with himself as a lead. His words didn't even make it to one ear. Sam Jr. stopped cleaning his ears so he wouldn't have to listen to the bullshit anymore. The only thing he cared to hear was amplified and electric enough to cut through the wax. Right now, his motivation is Crystal prancing around with the snake charmers, celebrating the failures of Sam and his brothers. He might have lost his hair, but he still has his strength. And his only goal tonight is to make an example of the private school kids across from him. The kind of young men his father would be proud to call sons, if only they were white. Each body in their formation is a steel bar he must break to get to freedom, to break free from the prison of his father's identity and escape into his own. Next section I'm going to have to skip. That deals with, we see a positive look at acceptance of different persuasions. This is the flip side, showing a gossiping lion being homophobic towards Chris Anthony Moon, who's the only character in the book whose entire name that you hear. And again, I mean, it's very humorous. It's kind of a satirical look at homophobia and the gossip and rumors of high school, but not YouTube friendly and a little too mean. I like Chris. I don't want to share bad rumors about him. Lawrence doesn't look to his left. If he catches sight of his brother staring at him with that goofy smile one more time, he'll have to pull a Luke and throw him to the ground himself. It's bad enough he has to deal with being followed around by the little twerp at his mother's house, but here too? How embarrassing. Gwen felt like royalty walking through the halls with Mike, their fingers interlocked, even before they were crowned. Oh, shoot, sorry. Even before they were crowned this homecoming. Now that Inez dumped Jimmy for Johnny, he should be a senior by now, but is still floundering and dating from sophomore classes. The spot was now open for a new class couple. Like most ugly truths, everyone denies it because nobody wants to be the freak to announce it before the social green light flashes, but they're all secretly aware of its existence. Gwen and Mike could be the template. Boys would start playing sports, they might score a girl like Mike's. Girls would use the pixelated background of Gwen's selfies taken inside her walk-in closet as her mood board. They could have been the guests of honor at house parties. If only Mike could control his temper. There is an etiquette to follow, one that does not permit starting fights with any boy to enter her DMs. If you'd only save that for the field, she'd cheer him on. It's all political, and politicians are all about public image. They could have framed their high school photos, the professional and the spontaneous, and placed them around their house for their children to see. They could have been the type to wear matching flannel for Christmas cards. Their children named Caden, Bentley, Lakin, Emmett, and maybe a Brandon for good measure if they got an early enough start, as well as a golden retriever lying flat before them. They could have taken two vacations a year an annual trip to Disney, and a wildcard destination that would usually be some beach. They could have taken turns chaperoning their children to sport and dance classes. The last 9 months of her life had been an investment. He threw it all away. And for what? Some freak who learned to apply makeup in clown school? Some whore with a reputation dirtier than her bedsheets? One who didn't even stick with him after the little misadventure? Mikey sure took an L on that trade. She knows what boys want, and they can get it if they give her what she needs. It's a simple transaction. He lost her because he never allowed himself to be hers. There was always a part of him locked up inside a safe in his chest, and he was careful not to let anyone find the combination. Gwen wasn't going to give it up for a man who won't give in to her. He could keep his wandering hands below skirt level, and if he dared protest, the night would be over. He was an impatient boy and found a way to get it faster. Boys will be boys. One way or another, she would bring him to his knees. If he had to learn that it's okay to cry the hard way, then she bore no responsibility. She was just a single lady at a party, dancing with a handsome boy from another school. What's it to her if she showed up with her arms around him in someone's Instagram and he happened to open it? When she was just a girl, during a brief period of separation, in which her parents were contemplating divorce, she overheard her mother on the cell phone from the back seat of her car. "Men are dogs," she said. "Some dogs need their noses rubbed in it." "Who taught you to dance like that?" Glenn said, practically tumbling onto the couch. "Chris Brown," Lance said with a smile, stretching his arms across the backrest. "You know what they say." She laughed nervously. "Don't tell me you're tired out already. The night's just starting. They haven't even started playing the ratchet shit yet. You better steer clear if they do. I'm known to twerk. Now that I'd like to see. If you're going to keep filling my cup, you just might." "Uh-oh. We might have to separate you two," Adam interjected, leaning down so his head is between theirs. Suddenly, and without warning, their bubble had popped, and they were cruelly reminded there was a whole world outside of their conversation. The negative space surrounding them was filled with all the cliches of a high school house party. "Try it, and I might have to separate your lip," Lance said, shaking a fist. He lifted up off the couch to wrap his arms around Adam's neck. "Lance is a great guy." Adam turned to Gwen. She could smell the liquor on his breath. Or was she smelling her own? "Go easy on him. I don't want him limping across the field in our big game." The clouds burst. Sorry, this is an inside joke from about a decade ago. The Bob Dylan song Odds and Ends, about spilling juice on my head. The clouds burst, spilling their juice on everybody's head. Those with hair were granted a grace period of denial before holding palms out to collect the droppings, and finally accepting that, yes, that weather report might have been right. The prepared slip into a more amphibious skin, drawing hoods over their heads. The less dedicated of the crowd are retreating their cars. Might as well beat the traffic before the closer is played. The show's more or less over anyways. While all that is going on, Sierra sits at her vanity, writing a letter. The mirror before her does not present her own face to her, but instead a collage of people in her life. Some images are printed off her mom's computer from social media. There's an image of a pop star or two cut from magazines. She taped a few photos of her baby sister, sound asleep in Sierra's bed behind her. Sierra hopes the ambience of the rain tapping against the window is enough to drown out the soft music of the high school band or explosion of the crowd. If nothing else, her garden's getting a good drink. She doesn't pine to be out there in the chaos. This is home. Someone needs to watch her sister while her parents are at work, and Sierra isn't going to trust her brother to do that. She can't even picture him changing a diaper. Heck, he probably wouldn't even smell it over the stench of his own body odor. Or hear cries with his gaming headphones on. Right here is where she's needed to be, and so here is where she's happy to be. She can hear the chatter, even this far away. She knows of her reputation, her alter ego she refers to as a pseudo-nymph. There aren't any more tears in her ducts left to spill over those rumors. She's aware that Adam will be going out after the game with Lance to a party and that the Snake Charmers will be there. Let him have his fun. He's under a lot of pressure between school and his team. It's not like she has any drive to give him what he needs. That was stolen from her long ago. She gets to collect his memories, his insecurities, the thoughts he wouldn't share with himself if she wasn't there with him. And to her, that is more intimate than humping somebody in front of everyone on some old sofa at a house party. She'd only agreed to meet up with Mike because there was something in his eyes she'd never seen before. Vulnerability. The wolf was now a puppy asking to climb up on the couch, afraid of rejection. She didn't think much of it. Of course, she was well aware of the implications, but if Adam could treat the cheerleaders across enemy's lines at his games like auditions to be invited into his bedroom, she can go for a dip with a boy. It's not like they're going to strip down the middle of the woods or anything. At least that's not what she was planning. Once there, though, she could sense him trying to close in on her. She could feel the heat of his anticipation. It was a relief when they got out of there without transformation or trauma. It's the violence of it all. A man penetrating a woman, stabbing her repeatedly while holding her down. It almost looks like another exercise, a push-up, but with this animal hunger. Without it, she wouldn't have little Caroline behind her, so it can't be all bad always. Life works in mysterious ways. She folds the paper into threes and tucks it into an envelope. She licks the glue, presses it down, and stamps the face with a green lipstick kiss. All right, next up we have a fourth and final quarter. Forever Fumbling. The clinical white lights are blinding. His eyes are ringing. He might mistake this place for heaven, except Dad was here with him and not Mom. This is confusing because, at least as the last moment he can remember, neither of his parents were dead. And if either of them would go to hell, it couldn't have been her. Where am I? The hospital, his dad says. You had a pretty bad accident at the game. Patrick closes his eyes. He tries wiggling his fingers and toes to see if they can move, but doesn't trust his own senses. He read about phantom pains when people lose limbs. What if he's having phantom movement sensations? Am I? You're fine. A little banged up, you'll be better in no time. Patrick opens his eyes and sees his fingers flicking. Just gotta take it slow for a while. I'm sorry. Sorry for what? You didn't do anything wrong, buddy. I shouldn't have been out on that field. I don't belong there. I'm not like you or the rest of the team. I didn't mean to disappoint you. Disappointment? Patrick, I am so proud of you every day. I love you because you're my son, because you're you. I support you in anything you do, but I don't care what it is. You can play football or write poems or join the debate team. I just want you to be happy. People talk about you like a legend. There are all those pictures of you with your team and trophies in the hall. I don't embarrass you. That kid they talk about hasn't been me for a long time, Pat. That was one small, insignificant chapter of my life compared to the life I've had with your mother, raising you. The only legacy I care about is my family, and the only opinions I care about are yours and your mother's. A lot of people mythologize their high school experience because they don't get much else out of life, even though if they were to go back, they'd see it really wasn't all that special. Some people put everything into one part of their life, whether it's sports or their job, because they aren't aware they have more to offer the world. That could have been me. Probably would have been if I never met your mother. My greatest achievements weren't in any field. They were at home. Someday you'll see. You're smart, funny, polite. You might not get much time in the field, but I know you know those plays better than anyone. You could coach someday if you want to. You can do anything you want. Come here. He leans down and embraces his son. I love you. I love you too, Dad. They release each other. Where's Mom? She went to the cafeteria to get some snacks. Want anything? I can send her a text. A man sits underneath an umbrella in the highest row of the crowd, where teenagers entertain themselves out of parents' earshot. Half the time his face is buried in a clipboard. The other half, he cranes his neck out, observing the game with the intensity of a scientist. He wears a constant expression that he's calculating some intense equation. He's formulating something, but the teens can care less what he's writing so long as he doesn't scold them for sneaking kisses and no adults recognize him. He sits on the side of the field for the visiting team, but does not stand or cheer when they score. When the home team has the ball, he taps out entirely, tuning back in only once the Dragons are back on the offense. His eyes follow the quarterback. They study his body, his movements like an artist trying to understand the anatomy of a model. They aren't so concerned with the numbers on the scoreboard as they are inspecting this one gear in the clockwork. A timer counts down in his head each second between snap and the ball leaving his hands. If one stole a glance at his paper, they would see a tally of how many times he passes and runs a ball. Divided into 4 quarters, each completed and incomplete pass is accounted for in his logs. At the bottom of his paper, there are 2 words written, waiting to be circled like a child's romantic confession to a crush and subsequent query of reciprocation. Yes and no. The man wears a university cap. The lion slips through the dragon's coils, painting its green scales red with slashes on its way through. The dragon draws back yet further, stretching itself out along the path to its richest, blowing smoke in the direction of its attempted slayer. The lion arches its back and tosses the key to the treasury of its foe in the air. The dragon snaps its head to catch the key, but the lion sucker punches with one paw while catching its own throw with the other. The dragon flicks its tail and whips the lion's paw outside their arena. The lion puts itself together as the lion prepares itself to lunge. The lion puts itself together as a dragon prepares itself to lunge. Impatient with its goal in sight, the lion rushes the dragon, tearing its body with both of its front claws and kicking at the tail end with its hind legs. The two beasts' teeth clash, pressing against each other to test which will break first, and in turn, who shall swallow who. The dragon folds, deflating into tatters as the lion dives into its goal, landing with a crown on its head. It dances on the pile of riches, celebrating another conquest to hang on its wall, more capital to contribute to its own kingdom. It does not notice the dragon recollecting itself, piecing its body back together scale by scale. It is bleeding, but not yet dead. The lion's paw print might stain the trophy, but the dragon isn't prepared to let it leave without spoils so ritually. The dragon isn't prepared to let it leave with its spoils so easily. Apologies, but there's a reason you don't often see authors reading their whole book in one take. This is a very, very short book. We'll get to that in a moment. We're almost done here. But, oh boy, it's a lot. I'm not trying to inebriate myself. I just need hydration. So yeah, maybe Lance is a little distracted. Can you blame the guy? His vision is clouded by the context of it all. It's hard to throw a ball when you're getting flanked by the past and future. He's hoping to ask Gwen to make things official after their victory tonight, but it's starting to look like he might have to take the salty with the sweet. At least that seems certain. When you know, you know. And Lance knows. In their short time together, they've already achieved a level of intimacy you can't back down from. Her voice has a different cadence when she talks to him. They share privacy in public. She appreciates the way he treats her and confided the way she's been disappointed with other men. Lance took notes, not only of her traumas, but also her dreams. He has her coffee order saved in his phone and a playlist of the songs she sent him. He doesn't just wait to speak, he listens. He understands the assignment. He is the mirror reflecting her beauty. No date will go unappreciated. No outfit uncomplimented. Her love is a privilege, not a right. She gets nervous around him. He doesn't mention it, but he notices it. She's probably hoping he'll ask as much as he's hoping she'll say yes. He shouldn't be anxious. He needs to get excited. This is a new journey in his life. The next adventure. And who knows where it might lead. He just feels lucky to have met her. Now, if only some of that luck can go towards completing this pass. The ball is up in the air. Everyone is scrambling to catch it or tackle the person who already has. Paul reaches up, and before he even knows what has happened, he feels a weight in the palm of his left hand. He sandwiches the catch with his right hand and reels it in, tight against his abdomen. He is immediately jumped and pinned to the ground, but underneath it all, he is smiling. He did something positive with the wretched tools he once used to engineer the destruction of his own soul. God is good. Alan slammed the phone on his... I don't know if you've seen the movie God's Not Dead. Alan slammed the phone on its receiver and marched into the locker room. Who did it? He snarled. One would have thought from the scowl carved into his face that the culprit had set his house on fire. Everyone looked around, equally confused as guilty. The shock of this explosion nearly uprooted Joey from his lotus position on the bench. He wore the expression of shock one might have slapped violently in the face while in the depths of sleep, knocked from his peaceful nothingness back into a world of conflict by sound waves in the shape of a clenched fist. The vibes were already off without the customary Wagner playing throughout the locker room. They saw Coach in his little office on the phone, but chalked it up to something more customary. Now, their worst fear was all but confirmed. Finally, Lance spoke up on behalf of his team. Who did what, Al? Not now. Right now, you will address me as sir. Better get used to it before the police start pulling you off for questioning. Some of the kids looked like they were about to pass out and seated themselves before falling over half naked onto the locker room floor. One or some of your teammates thought it would be funny to vandalize the Lions' locker room, before our game this week. There was a collective sigh of relief, even Coach couldn't deny. Half the team thought he had found out about their party that last Saturday. It didn't take long for the repose to pass and the confusion to set back in. They began looking across the room at each other for answers. He surveys the team, petting his mustache with his index finger and thumb, spreading his wings as his team jokes in lighter moments, calculating for a guilty face to strike down with his laser vision. Back on the field, they stared at him as though the words were said in a language they do not speak. Now. Sir, Colin stammered, I have to be at work by 4:30. Then I will call and explain. Colin knew he wasn't bluffing. Coach and his family were at the patio every Thursday for wing night. Each week, he wet his mustache with their famous Dude Ranch sauce. He knows the staff better than Colin does. You're all running laps until one of you speaks up. I recommend that whoever did this speaks up now. I recommend that whoever did this speak now. If I have to find... That was dumb, sorry. If I have to find out on my own, and I will find out, you're off the team. If it was a senior, I will personally write the dean to rescind my letter of recommendation. If you speak up now, before having innocent teammates run laps for your selfishness and stupidity, not to mention cowardliness, I might be able to help you sort out this mess you've made. Except no one did. Wordlessly, the team put their jerseys back on and set back out to the field where they ran laps. Eventually, as the boys began to puke and a gaggle of parents collected to ask why he was keeping their sons after, he had no choice but to release them. They all understood his frustration and promised to string their boy up by the neck if he had anything to do with it, but Coach, there's no way their sons could do something like this. Eventually, he had no choice but to set the bastards loose, innocent until proven guilty. It's not like he could run them to death. Ken shoves back against the minivan, Atlas pushing forward. He throws himself into the traffic of the opposition, pushes the man across from him into reverse. He can hear Allie's voice in his helmet during the game, as though she had implanted a headset inside his ear and is now coaching him from the bleachers. He couldn't protect her then, and so he relives that memory every play, each move an attempt to give the clock hands enough resistance that they turn back, so he might save his mentor Muse. The offense drives through him. Colin can board up the windows, but he can't prevent the wrecking balls from tearing his dream home down. He can't flood the basement quickly enough to drown out the flames licking him. The reanimated junkies are pushing up against the door, and the hinges can't hold much longer. Behind him, Mike can hear the stampede of his embarrassments, failures, regrets, every ugly mask someone has ever strapped to his face by way of misimpression, everybody who has ever slighted him, and every possible future. He is so desperate to avoid reaching out like zombies to tear him down and dogpile him. Each fear and memory of pain a snowflake burying him under an insurmountable mountain of grief. If they drag him to the ground, they might as well put a bullet through his head, because without this fulfillment, he is nothing. Each threat wanted to claim him as his bounty, mount his helmeted head above a fireplace blazing with the flames of hell. Their fingers were hungry for his flesh. He will not give them the satisfaction. Their desperation is his adrenaline. He can make the Green Mile his victory lap. His legs grow with each stride, and he feels he's running on stilts, high enough to make eye contact with those in the top row of the bleachers. He cannot hear their screams, only the pulsing of his own heart. Nothing exists except the goal before him. His blinders censor the distractions of the world. The field begins moving like a conveyor belt, the white lines blurring towards him. The raindrops against his back push him forward. He bets Lance can't score like this. The field goal raises its arms like a cactus in celebration of his imminent arrival, and the crowd blossoms. This is his entirety, his rage, his desires, his pride, his shame, every what if never answered, every dead relative that lives on in his veins, every unrequited longing and ambition so lofty he cannot see it beyond the clouds raining down on this field. Each day of his life has been a prelude to this moment, and everyone to follow the result. He can overdose on this. A lesser man might have made peace with his circumstances. Mike had waged war against them all, and he might yet win. If he runs fast enough, he might turn back time, undo it all, be reborn with the answer to all of life's questions. If he could just get this one thing right. The crowd fills Gwen's lungs. She becomes one with the moment, a cell in the body of this composition. She can no longer feel her sore legs as she jumps. Foreign electricity animates her arms. She gives herself over to it. The spirit of the lion is inside her, borrowing her voice. She can feel its life in her blood, her veins warming with the heat of its hunger. Her mother and the lineage of lionesses before them are living on through her. She hears herself screaming like Mike is carrying their baby to safety from cannibals. Nothing else exists. No one else exists. Her clothes can blow away in the wet wind. He has unlocked her, free to enter as he pleases. She can feel him inside her already. He already owns her. She can feel his grip on her neck even if his hands are unseen. His thumbprints tattoo her brain. Her heart is rioting in her chest, battering with every beat against her ribs to free itself so it can be carried by the champion who has set it into rhythm. Tears well up in the banks of her eyes, threaten to rob her of the sight, mixed with the night rain. She becomes one with the night. A dam is threatening to break out between her legs. She feels ready to give birth in front of the whole crowd, deliver a fresh football for him to carry. Not even her father's approval could turn her off now. Her legs are quivering. He can see the fins closing in on him from the eyes in the back of his helmet. He has to restrain a laugh so as not to break his stride, but he can hear their breath in his ears. He can practically feel their wind on his neck. He already knows they're going to take their leaps of faith with him and reach a victory. A lesser man might take the tackle and let the team do the final 5 yards of legwork, but he needs to remind them just what the number 11 means. Not only the dragons, but the lions, their tamers, the snake charmers, everyone in the audience. He's going for a play so devastating the desk Sierra is writing from at home trembles, fucking up the handwriting in her note to Adam. He hears the applause before daring to open his eyes. Success, but at what cost? Something erupts into his ankle, a pulsating voice. Lips split from the desperate twist of his propulsion tell him he cannot stand. The devil has come to claim his due. If that is so, Mike thinks, then at least he provided more than God could ever offer, so long as it's not all for naught. This could be the last time, if only this sacrifice freed his Persephone from the hell he'd lost her in. Home, 24. Away, 6. 3 minutes, 11 seconds left on the clock. A moment of silence, waiting for the boy to get back up on his feet. They had watched him do this to himself, fly directly into the sun in an effort to baptize himself without relinquishing the ego. They wait to see if his wings have been melted or merely charred until paramedics rush back onto the field. Beneath the impressionistic rain in his red jersey, he almost appears covered in blood. His teammates take a knee, and so do his enemies. Teardrops leak from Lance's helmet, contributing to the wet field. He knows he is in some way responsible. No one sees his pain, and if they did, they wouldn't care. A cheerleader breaches the field, sobbing as she runs towards the wreckage of a running back. No one attempts to stop her. Homecoming royalty comes with special privileges. The body is lifted onto a gurney and carried away, escorted by the devastated cheerleader. After that, there's little else to do but finish the game. There's no enthusiasm left. They have seen the damage passion has wreaked upon the stage. They go through the motions while the final 3 minutes and 11 seconds bleed out from the scoreboard. When the game's time has come, what remains of the crowd packs up and leaves solemnly, like they've just witnessed a court case and are uncomfortable with the sentencing. This doesn't affect the home team's renewed vigor. Now their conquest has been confirmed. The war had been won, and now is their time to pillage. Colin makes his way to the locker room without so much as a look back. He has no time for nostalgia, no use for mental image. He reminds himself, Rome wasn't built in a day. I was so excited to call people and read this to them when I wrote this one. I think it might have just been one person, but it's going to be hard to get through. Frankie began running soon as he was out of eyesight. He wasn't sure if children would laugh or cry if they saw a dragon mascot storming the halls of the school. He wasn't sure if he should laugh or cry reflecting on it just a moment later, safe in the solitude of his stall. It's bad enough the school looks to have been built in the 1940s, but they couldn't be bothered to put any signs directing guests and freshmen to the nearest facility. Thankfully, he found one before relieving himself in his costume. The idea of draining a bucket's worth of liquid shit from the furry getup made him want to gag. It'd probably have to be tossed after such desecration, burned according to school customs like an American flag. God knows that administration values a dragon costume more than do the unfortunate bastard wearing it. He left the dragon head on the sink. Getting to rip that thing off his beady skull was nearly as much of a relief as it is to feel the porcelain giving his ass a kiss on the cheeks. The eruptions began before he could even stick the landing. and he hopes he didn't paint the seat with the remnants of a gas station burrito while his ass continues vomiting into the toilet's open mouth. This toilet's probably older than he is. When's the last time he got his tetanus shot? Not recent enough, that's for sure. He asked himself if satisfying the craving was worth it. This shameful act of infidelity in the front seat of his truck that his wife could never know of. He would have given a different answer if asked while undressing the burrito from its wrapping and smelling its perfume bless his nostrils than he would now. He makes a mental note to hide the receipt crumpled up like the bad idea it was in the cup holder. While his ass pisses out the last of his liquid shit, he hears the bathroom door open and feels a sudden terror that it might be in the ladies' room. He was in such a rush to tear his head off and get pooping that he didn't even think to check. Thank God, he hears the voice of teenage boys, cracking pubescently and giggling. He hears, "Bro, no fucking way." And worst of all, jackpot. His reassurance of the company he currently keeps gives way to terror as the minds and capabilities of teenage boys flashes back to him. His head. What can he do? His stomach still has more to offer the bowl beneath him. He hears zipping, flushing, and the door opening back up and closing itself without the sound of any faucets running. He grabs wad after wad of toilet paper like a person grasping for dollar bills in one of those phone booths with money flying around in game shows, as soon as he was certain another flood of shit won't wet his hand. At first, it feels like trying to staunch a bullet hole in a colostomy bag with tissue paper, but eventually the filthy watering hole dries up and he can free himself from this uncomfortable throne. "Oh Lord," he hears himself say. "They took my head." Ken swings the door to the passenger seat open with his head hung low and feels like he's closing the lid to his own coffin when shutting it behind him. He maintains eye contact with the dashboard, inspecting the texture, anything not to acknowledge his complete failure. Kenneth, he hears his father saying. He does not know how long this chant has been going on before it caught his attention. Reluctantly, he looks to his father behind the wheel. "That was some good playing tonight. I know it may not feel like it, but you really impressed me. Those other boys might have won on the scoreboard, but they made fools of themselves on and off the field. In a fair world, they would have been disqualified for unsportsmanlike conduct. I'm proud of you. The offense might have been bigger than you, but for you to hold your own against kids 2-3 times your size as long as you did, that shows you've got a lot of heart. You did so good," he hears from the back seat. His eyes drift cautiously the rearview mirror, too ashamed to face his sister. "You got all the plays, just like we practiced. You better not go to sleep when we get home. I recorded the whole game and we have to go over it, play by play." With every donut across the abandoned gas station parking lot across town, Luke and Sam will replay their favorite memories like a song on repeat, like they do after every home game. The same moments, over and over again, forever. Sometimes they will share the nostalgia, but mostly they listen to their music and replay the footage in their own heads. They might never outrun the dragon head tethered to the back of the truck, but they could drag it through the mud. If they can batter the reptilian fetus threatening to be born enough, they might never be holden to its flames. "It just made me so proud seeing both my boys on the field together," Joey's mom says. He sits in the passenger seat, waiting for the right moment to ask if they can stop at the gas station to get a soda on the ride home. "If only you two could have been on the same team." "The Lions wouldn't have stood a chance against both of us," Joey laughs. He feels a vibration in his pocket. He digs his phone out and unlocks it with a swipe. A text from Lawrence. He taps the notification. It reads, "Time to go cry to mommy," followed by 3 laugh emojis. If everyone isn't too concerned with safely navigating the parking lot, they might catch what an hour ago would have seemed like an impossible sight. A lion and dragon carpooling. Any rational person would see them for what they are. Friends. 2 teenage boys with as much in common as they have apart. Adam sighs. It's her loss. He has to say something. That's about as good as a teenage boy who's never been through a breakup, let alone whatever that was, could muster. Mike probably intercepted your honeymoon period with his little stunt, but once the attention's off him and he's out of crutches, Gwen will remember what an asshole he is and they'll go through it all again. It's just how some people are. There's yet to be any official declaration, a separation in writing, but Lance doesn't need to wait for the receipt to print. He saw the same thing as everyone else. Then why do I feel like the loser? That's how it always feels. He puts the key in the ignition. Come on, let's go take it out on Claire. He hasn't cleared this with her yet, but Suspect she might appreciate that, bridging the gap between the two teams after their battle tonight. That what you do? Take your frustration in another woman's bed when you have a fight with Sierra? Nah, he leans forward to seeing an end to the He leans forward to see if an end to the parade of cars is in sight. It is not. She's perfect. I'm just not. He forces a smile. I don't know, the word parade was like, it felt like seeing another language. I was like, dude, what is this word? Did I invent a new word in this book? Gwen never left Mike's side, escorting the gurney from the field to the ambulance. The sight gave the same voyeuristic guilt to onlookers as a grieving mother who can't bear to leave her son's side as his casket is being carried to its grave. Most averted their eyes to give them their privacy in this otherwise public moment of intimacy. Mike's father, Jack, was already in his truck getting ready to meet them at the hospital. Before they loaded him into the back of the ambulance, Gwen removed his helmet and kissed his sweaty forehead. I'm sorry. I know I'm arrogant and I'm brash. I make stupid mistakes all the time. I know I tell myself it's me against the world, and then it comes true because I start fights. I can't take back the stupid things I've done, and no apology will undo the pain I've caused everyone. I hurt you, but I only want to hurt myself. I didn't think I could even matter to anyone. I have to do these big things because I never had any value. I felt like my accomplishments were all I could be. Everybody leaves, so I try to scare them off before I get attached, and I tell myself that proves my abandonment and she's right. It's my fault. I accept accountability. I feel like I'm forever falling, but I can change. We can be a team. Life could be a success story, Gwen. I can be the man you made me feel like I was. That other guy's dead. He's buried at me. I don't care about any of the applause or the people in the audience or anything. I don't need them. I just need you. I know it's already too late, but I can't lose you. Because I know if you give up on me too, then it's because it was all my fault. Please, shut up. I love you. She grabs him by the cheeks and kisses him. Oh, thank God. Clarion, Pennsylvania, October 23rd, 2023. All right. So that was a football book. Now we're going to take it back real quick to Party Boy. And this one's called Reflections. And I don't know. I wasn't sure what I wanted to read from Party Boy. Real quick, I got R.E. Acting, football book. Now we're doing Party Boy. I wanted something from it. I don't think I've read very much from Party Boy ever. All right, Reflections. This is by Hans Christian Andersen. It's about a mirror in love with the woman who gets ready in front of it every day. It's a silly story about simping. I love her. How blessed am I for her to pose before me. Every morning, before anything else, sans a shower, she sits within my frame like a living portrait. If every artist had so perfect a muse, the world would be overflowing with masterpieces. Our respect is mutual. I notice a little smile in the corner of her mouth as she appreciates the way I present her golden hair. We have fun in our little appointments. Sometimes she'll make a silly face, somehow elevating the sanctity of the moment rather than shattering it. Other times, when home alone, she'll monologue for me. Yes, she speaks to the small beast they raise, but our conversations are not equal. She speaks to the mutt as though it was a child. I have the privilege of hearing her most intimate thoughts. She prepares speeches for me, rehearses for job interviews, and maps out how to navigate impending confrontation. I'm her confidant. The most devout Catholic doesn't have such a repertoire with her own priest that they confess daily. I've seen it in the movie she plays in our room. There is always someone else, a mortal man with a compromised mind, on the other end of the booth sitting in the darkness like a pervert. Our relationship is something more. What we have is more open, more sincere, less reserved. The other dullards populating this room now, they are the ones being used. She may sleep in her bed each night, but she doesn't converse with it. She merely opens her dresser, guts it until she has claimed the prize she's looking for, and shuts it back up. No other piece of furniture gets quite the same attention as the mirror. Could our dynamic be one-sided? I don't think so. Is that of the photographer and his subject one-sided? Sure, it can be, but it doesn't have to be. There is room for complexity. There is something to be gained from an idol and her disciple. She does not just merely imprint herself upon me, although in her younger years she did stamp my surface with the lipstick stain of a kiss, the closest I can come to touching real beauty. I wore it like a badge of honor for years. What we have is a collaboration. She inspires me, and I praise her with my reflections. Her image penetrates me, and our child is beauty. At some point, you must have glanced at yourself in the mirror and thought, that doesn't look quite right. Well, we aren't perfect. Even the most skilled hand of a tradesman is liable to the occasional mistake. Reflection is never quite accurate. The same way one's own stories, the same way one's own memories are diluted. We tend to exaggerate features, focus in on the things we find most interesting. Sometimes a detail catches our attention. We can't help ourselves. Can you blame us? The eyeball tends to drift. I see it happen all the time as she or guests walk past me, sneaking a glimpse at their own reflections. Similarly, our focus can become a little biased. To that I ask, what is a maestro without a voice? The unaffected are bound for mediocrity. With that established, what is the harm in accentuating the tone of her skin? What harm comes from showing her the fullness of her lips? If that is an injustice, and the poets she reads aloud to me should all be hanged for the crime of hyperbole. Although I must confess that my flair isn't always so complimentary. I regret even mentioning the oaf. It feels like polluting holy water with oil. Fitting, as our union appears to me just as blasphemous. He's no more suited to possess her than the canine, yet her attention is divided amongst us. When he's in my presence, I amuse myself by stretching his ears to hang just a little bit lower, inflating the bloat of his hairy gut just enough that it's noticeable without giving myself away. How else am I to tolerate such miserable company? I especially enjoy doing this when he intrudes upon our time together, wrapping his arms around her and looking at the two of them in the mirror, contrasted like high royalty next to the dredges of society. I'm careful to highlight all of her most charming features and simultaneously draw attention to his grotesqueries. I don't want to be naive, but I secretly hold the hope I can convince her of his lowly state, so she will no longer allow him to defile her. In such times, I have to remind myself, what great story is without conflict? How can one who has not toiled in the daylight appreciate a night's rest? Can beauty be defined without the existence of ugliness? I don't know, but I think it's worth the attempt. The reality is, when one struggle ends, another will always begin. Good never truly banishes evil. It only displaces it for a brief grace period. The 8 hours of sleep always go faster than the 8 hours on the clock, so I hear. The wait is always longer than the reward, but those rare moments where everything is right where it should be are often more valuable than the cost they come at. The memory prioritizes these events for a reason, placing them above all the banality of existence. How often does one look back on the moment spent merely waiting for that very moment to end? So we have to learn to enjoy the holidays of adoration, where we can gaze upon works of art. It's just such a shame that those of us who can truly perceive beauty are the same sort cursed from ever being able to touch it. Is that incel anthem? No, I'm kidding, but it is funny. A friend told me he thought the story was very sad, and I always thought it was humorous and satirical. And that was the first time I read it. I was like, yeah, this is kind of sad. I'm taking a quick break, and then we're going right back into it. Take2.jpg. So, real quick here. There was 2 bucket list books that I told myself, like, I wanted to write them so bad. I talked about them for years. A football book and a wedding book. And I wrote them both. They're not really books. The book itself gets into this, but I don't feel defined by the novel. I think it's time literature outgrows the novel. It's holding us back. It's a marketing term. Word counts, all this. It's all marketing. It's all sales. And I think as an art form, literature has to progress past this. And I don't know what to call these volumes, I suppose. They're certainly not books in a conventional sense, but whatever it is, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That was actually a working title for this, is Call It What You Want. But then I thought, if somebody doesn't get it, because I was like previewing some ideas aesthetically of what I wanted for this. And I was just like, is that too much? Is it too esoteric? It had like tarot cards and stuff. And it really got kind of the weirdness, which I like. But I thought, if they don't get it, I get it. And I thought, well, that's the title. But I'm going to be right back. And then we'll go through take 2. All right, back to party rocking. This year was inspired by my brother loves the Silent Hill games, and I played Silent Hill 2, the remake that came out. I played the original way back in the day, and I fell in love with it, especially the final section. And I don't know what the hotel's called. I call it Hotel Toluca, even though it's not right. Lake Toluca, the hotel right there, and the vibe of the game, and that was just what I was like. Yeah, that's what I want to write something. I can't replicate that, but it clicked how to write this. So the first piece here is titled Photophobic. I'm not photogenic, as you can tell. I'm not videogenic. Not the most flattering angle. Every time I look at myself, I'm like, oh God, I am the Elephant Man. But so this first piece here, it's called Photophobic, and it is inspired by basically just having the worst possible photographer ever that could take my picture. I think that's safe to say was the inspiration. Beautiful. You girlies served. You're good to go. Ione, can you please let the boys know I'm ready for them? Yeah, I'll be here. Gotta reload the cam. Maybe convince them to do a shot first, loosen them up a bit for Terrible Terry? Terrible! Yeah, I wish I named my LLC that. Terrible Photography. Okay, yeah, I'll wait here. All right, men. I want you to gather around the fireplace. Don't step too close to it. Don't want to burn your leg. Don't be shy. Put your arms around each other. These are your new brothers. Now look happy. This is your big day. Come on. You're not being held at gunpoint. I had some toys for the kids. Want me to get them for you? Am I going to have to get the siblings in here? I got a real cute pic of them. Yeah, I see you. I don't know. Click. A snapshot. That was so good. Let's just get one more, just to be safe. Liam, you're allowed to give the groom a little tickle. All right. Take 2. Margaret, 1969. These were my parents, Robert and Mary. This is my mom with her mother, Dorothy, who I was named after. This is your grandfather with his friends. I think this is the last time we saw Jack. Grandpa, was this the last time we saw Jack? Well, you saw him then. It was the last time I saw Jack. He was hit by a drunk driver when he was checking his mailbox around 1970. Here are your grandpa's parents. Never thought they cared for me, but they adored your mom. This was about a year before you were born. This is all of us on the pier. Donald drank so much he nearly fell into the lake right after the picture was taken. This was the hotel, the Terracova. It's over in Anderson. Maybe we can drive by there someday. There's a little ice cream place close by we can stop at. My grandparents, my mom and dad are buried there. It's where I grew up. Graduated from Northview High in '68. Me and your grandpa moved here when the factories were opening. No, they're all closed down now, but they can't afford to tear them down because of how toxic the ground is. Here's our wedding kiss. Maybe next time I go there will be your wedding, little Maggie. That man on the right was a pastor of the church I grew up in. He retired not too long after that. Maybe he was already retired by then. Here's your grandpa with cake all over his face. Here's your mother. The first time we took her to get their picture taken. She was a chubby little baby. Looks like that's the last one in this album. Let's see what we have here. These were my parents, Robert and Mary. This is my mom with her mother, Dorothy, who I was named after. This is your grandfather with his friends. I think this was the last time we saw Jack. Grandpa, was this the last time we saw Jack? Well, you saw him then. It was the last time I saw Jack. He was hit by a drunk driver when he was checking his mailbox around 1970. Here are your grandpa's parents. Never thought they cared for me, but they adored your mom. This was about a year before you were born. This is all of us on the pier. Donald drank so much he nearly fell into the lake right after the picture was taken. This was the hotel, the Terracova. It's over in Anderson. Maybe we can drive by there someday. There's a little ice cream place close by we can stop at. My grandparents and my mom and dad are buried there. It's where I grew up. Graduated from Northview High in '68. Me and your grandpa moved here when the factories were opening. No, they're all closed down now, but they can't tear some of them down because of how toxic the ground is. Here's our wedding kiss. Maybe next time I go there will be your wedding, little Maggie. That man on the right was a pastor of the church I grew up in. He retired not too long after that. Maybe he was already retired by then. Here's your grandpa with cake all over his face. Here's your mother. The first time we took her to get her picture taken. She was a chubby little baby. Looks like that's the last one in this album. We can look through this one. These were my parents, Robert and Mary. This is my mom with her mother, Dorothy, who I was named after. This is your grandfather with his friends. I think this was the last time we saw Jack. Grandpa, was this the last time we saw Jack? Well, you saw him then. It was the last time I saw Jack. He was hit by a drunk driver when he was checking his mailbox around 1970. Here are your grandpa's parents. Never thought they cared for me, but they adored your mom. This was about a year before you were born. This is all of us on the pier. Donald drank so much he nearly fell into the lake right after the picture was taken. This was the hotel, the Terracova. It's over in Anderson. Maybe we can drive by there someday. There's a little ice cream place close by we can stop at. My grandparents and my mom and dad are buried there. It's where I grew up. Graduated from Northview High in '68. Me and your grandpa moved here when the factories were opening. No, they're all closed down now, but they can't tear some of them down because of how toxic the ground is. Here's our wedding kiss. Maybe next time I go there will be your wedding, little Maggie. That man on the right was a pastor of the church I grew up in. He retired not too long after that. Maybe he was already retired by then. Here's your grandpa with cake all over his face. Here's your mother. The first time we took her to get her picture taken. She was a chubby little baby. Looks like that's the last one in this album. Wrongs of Spring. Here, take my hands. First you step, then step, next. And we keep doing that until the song is done. The rule is to try to step on as few toes as possible while it lasts. But if you want to know a little secret, girls can get away with stepping on toes every now and then. I stepped on your dad's shoe in front of everyone. I was so embarrassed, but nobody mentioned it. No one wants to shame a woman, especially on a wedding day. So you don't have to be so shy. Let's bruise the wooden floor. Give it some tattoos of your shoe prints until it looks like your mom or Uncle B. Leave your mark on the dance floor while you're here. Stoicism. I can't really do the voice. This is written like old-timey war headlines. Extra. War hero uncomfortable when thanked for his service. Invasion. Fallen soldiers visit surviving friend in his dreams. Breaking. Former soldier wears Depends at night because he pisses the bed. This just in. Veteran makes a wrong turn on the way to get milk. Winds up in the Middle East. Stars, stripes, and scandals. Military wife leaves husband. Declares custody battle for children. Get your news. Soldier feels nauseous when hearing his son wants to join the army when he grows up. Heartbreak at home. Local boy becomes war hero in order to make father proud. Father reveals in breaking interview his son only had to be himself. Next up we have, he doesn't even know. Do you know why I did it? Why? I wanted to be like you. I saw you and thought, that's a man. That's what I should aspire to be. You are all the things I thought I could never be. Why are you talking about me in the past tense? I'm just going to give a hint, this story is told way out of order. That is the conclusion of Wes's talk with Brendan on the balcony. Here comes everyone. What's that on your arm? Someone's initials? Yes, well, no. It's from a book. What book? I might have read it. Finnegan's Wake. HCE is both the name of a character and a motif in the book, with a bunch of words beginning with those letters. I think we read some of that in college. I think sometimes those writers are paid by schools to write books just so they could teach them. I like them. I think books can be like people, and some people are complex. They seem weird when you first meet them, and if you judge them, you might mistake them for crazy, but if you're patient, learn to speak their language and listen, you begin to realize the sense they're making from their perspective. It's like learning about a different culture. Right. When you look at the context of the author's life and the intertextual conversation they're having within the writing, it begins to fall into place. But that's why I don't like it. It feels like a joke made in front of the whole room for people only a few elite audience members get at the expense of everyone else. Especially in my day, before Kindles and smartphones, the access to information was a privilege, and one not everyone can afford. A lot of people don't have the money or the time to budget to develop those skills, and it feels like a way of gatekeeping them from reading and scaring them off. But do you think that's the artist's ego or the reader's insecurity? The academics put up a front of sophistication, but the artists often have troubled lives. It's all opportunity. Karl Marx was born into money. Fame doesn't just happen. Success isn't a lottery. These people are all selected. Success isn't earned, it's given. I think that's mostly true, but what about Van Gogh? And what did they do to him? Put him on a coffee mug. Well, that's where I think we disagree. Art can be made into a product, and artists can be solicited, but I think a lot of these people are truly complex, and as a result of that, so is their work. I don't believe creativity is an intellectual endeavor, but an emotional one. Then why all the artifice and intellectualism, if not a barrier to entry? A coat of armor to protect the artist's feelings? Maybe. Or the same way socialites tend to be quick on their feet in navigating conversation. People who devote their lives to reading and writing could be hyper-literate. I don't appreciate this concept that the greatest achievement an artist can obtain is to be marketable. The best a work can hope to be is sold. We love the creative freedom, the experimentality of these artists, and yet, as soon as we grant them citizenship to public image, we try to domesticate them and keep them in a cage. We say we love them for what they are, but clip their nails and only want them to pose to be posted on social media. We want ownership not only of the art, but the autonomy of the artists themselves. We would bottle and sell the entire Niagara Falls if we could, but instead we settle for photographs. We think our own interpretation supersedes our intent, that we are the authoritative figure not only on their life's work, but the validity of their lives as well. We love the beauty of a butterfly, and what do we do to reward it for the sight? We kill it, pin it inside a frame, and put it on our wall. But they didn't grow wings to be admired. Maybe we should allow them to fly. Why should writers be shackled to working for non-readers? For what are painters indebted to an audience who will never set foot in a gallery of their own accord? Would you sell your kid's drawing they bring home from school, or put it on your fridge? Depends on how much I can make off it. But seriously, then why release to the public at all? When you see a movie, don't you want to recommend it to people? Haven't you ever played a song for someone hoping they could feel what you felt when you first heard it? Imagine having that vision inside of you, but you can't get it out. It would be a betrayal of yourself to keep it locked up. You'd become a coffin for your own dreams. But why would someone want to read, let alone write something like that? Just to feel smarter than everyone? Why do people climb mountains? Why does anyone dance knowing they're embarrassing themselves? Why do people fight bulls? My husband, no, the man I'm here with is my brother. You probably didn't notice the relation because he's so much uglier than me, hideously deformed. But my husband, he loves this one video game. He had me try playing it, and I couldn't do anything without dying. I couldn't understand why I'd spend so many hours doing something so frustrating. He explained to me the reward he gets is so much greater because he struggled for every victory he earns in the game. It helped him at work when he's having trouble fixing a machine in his job because he sees the machine like a boss in the game. He got better at the game, and now he likes to show off how he can beat some parts without losing any health. It doesn't mean much to me, but knowing what it means to him helps me enjoy watching him lean forward with his tongue out and his little victory dances on the couch when he wins. It's like jazz. You don't have to know how to play it or have an understanding of music theory to understand on some emotional level what it's doing. Why can't writing be like jazz? Why do books need to be written like the outline of a movie or poems written on Instagram posts? Why does every song need to be a hit single? Why does every movie need to be a blockbuster? Why do we need to kill John Lennon in order to keep Paul McCartney? Like Bob Dylan. If you're not listening, he's just rambling. But if you actually pay attention, a lot of the lyrics are really funny. Some songs in the recording, he has to stop because he starts laughing and starts over again. There's a lot of beauty to the songs too, but if you just thought about hearing his voice in a harmonica for 20 minutes, you'd never hear it. That's the humanity of it. You always want your favorite team to win, but if they never lost, would you keep watching? What accomplishment would a touchdown be if there was no fumble? Do you think Dylan was just too stupid or lazy to record another take? If every note was perfect, would it even matter? If it did, why do we go see live shows? You never want the comic you paid to see bomb, but if every joke ever made landed was funny to everyone, what would be the point of comedians? Why does a set list for every concert have to be a greatest hits collection? Because the audience paid to hear it? But did they pay for static performance like the screening of a movie they've seen before without any variation? Or did they pay for entry to a dynamic performance? The reason it's called a live show is there's a life to it. This goes back to the butterfly. I like the live recordings. You get sick of the same CD and the live ones aren't as good of quality, but there's more energy to them. And isn't that what life is, or what art is? Breathing life into something inanimate? And life is messy, complicated, embarrassing. Picasso said it took him his entire life to learn to paint like a child. He could have painted portraits his whole life, but he could express himself more by remixing the human face. Not everyone is going to understand it, but do any of us even want to be understood by everyone? Ma'am, is this art therapy teacher bothering you? Go have another drink, Brendan. The adults are talking. I think that's the wordiest of this whole piece. Take 2 is a lot more experimental than the football book. White chocolate. I always joke that would be my R&B album title. White chocolate. Dad had anxiety about getting things lost in the mail, so he sent an invitation to his own wedding to our own household. I don't know why he didn't just follow up over text with anyone that didn't RSVP, but sometimes overthinking can get in the way of common sense like a traffic jam. Maggie probably knew better, but also knew that if he didn't do things his way, the stress would wake him, and by proxy her, every night until he met everyone in the lobby. Dad would pick me up so I could check the mailbox each morning after getting off the school bus. Something about the invitation was so exciting to me, like it was my own ticket to the event. The day it came, I ran around the house holding it over my head yelling, "I've got a wedding ticket," to what probably wasn't quite Grandpa Joe's melody from Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, until I hit my knee on the table and burst into tears. The track I was singing skipped a wailing that I broke my ankle, despite the knee being my point of impact. I overheard a news segment a few days ago reporting on a soccer player who broke his ankle during a game, unlocking a new childhood paranoia. I wiped my cheeks off with the envelope, and the sight of the soggy paper triggered another fit of despair. I think the couple would have been just as happy and a lot less nervous with the courthouse wedding, but Maggie's parents wanted it. You're so independent, she later told me they would say. Let us do just this one thing for you. Little did they know. This is one more thing she did for their happiness. Stone-faced? Because I'm Excalibur. This ceremony is a grotesquerie, like a woman being sold off to the Elephant Man. The only thing more offensive than his words is his face. He doesn't need a response to his jokes because he provides his own laugh track. I read that he wrote a book. It's a good thing no one has ever read it. 13 typos in the Kindle file. There's a hair on his scalp for every original thought he's ever had. I wonder if she'd stay with him if she read any of it. Shit, she probably hasn't forgot. That's how cliche the plot is. And he comes with a flower girl? Couldn't wait until tomorrow to repeat his offense to the world? God knows what feral spawn are spilling into the world from his genetics. What's the matter? Do you think anyone here is actually happy for you? You're a buffoon. You're fat. You can't dance. Your only ambition is narcissism. This isn't a holy matrimony. It's a circus. Your pastor is going to lose his license for this. They only came to see the woman marrying a leper. Everybody knows you don't deserve this. I know. You'll fail them all. They'll see how optimistic their worst fears really are. Every one of them will wind up just like me. You'll drive them into a wall. Your daughter's going to cut herself before she's allowed to start wearing makeup. Your son will probably be the one to... No, that won't happen. And you aren't my brother. The arms and legs push it out from the womb of the dryer in the basement of their father's former home. The lips blossom red, the cheeks flush red, hair on spools to shoulder length. You're not my sister either. You're just my grief, a demon wearing their face. Matt wasn't mean. He just couldn't escape you. I was a cruel one, while you had possession of me. Now that I got away, you're using his voice to haunt me, to lure me back into your cave. Incisors stretch over the bottom lip, the eyes dim and vacuum the light from the room as the face twists into itself like a wad of paper being crumpled up. I know what I am. I don't deserve them. But I'm going to work every day to earn what I've been given. You aren't just trying to take them from me. You're taking me from them. They will see me in your eyes. I'll come out when you get cut off in traffic, when you hear something you don't like, every time you spill your coffee. When I'm tossing and turning you in your sleep, they'll find a new bed. They'll deserve better, and they will find it once they give up on you. Once they realize you're only wasting your time holding everyone else back. You're too selfish to let them go and be happy for them. You'll never belong to them. You're mine. You are a part of me, but there's more to me than my worst parts. You're a failure. What do you call someone who always loses? They don't love me for my accomplishments. They don't judge. They're accepting and patient. They speak a language you can't translate. We'll see about that patience. They can have your days, but I'll be waiting here for you every night. You'll be working the night shift in hell. You won't blink without having a nightmare. I'll show you things you can't unsee. You'll learn that you are my weapon. You'll see that your life is my blast radius, and the only way to keep them safe is Fitzwilliam. In brackets, I forgive you in my dreams. So this is a play written out, and the two characters speaking, their name changes each time they speak. Stretch marks. That was some speech, bald spot. Yeah, sorry. It sounded funny in my head, but it came out pathetic. Heart. Lots of things work out better in our heads. Brain. Wouldn't we know it? Used Band-Aid. It sounded like you were in pain, Brendan. Am I that obvious? Kafka's wrist. Still, probably better than I could have done. Nosferatu. What would you have said? Monster Energy. Nothing. I would have stood there holding the microphone at my side in a clenched fist while I cry and pee myself. Laugh track. Why does that seem a little too detailed to be a scenario you just came up with? Neon Genesis Ava Braun. Recurring dream. Sigmund Fraud. Sounds more like a nightmare to me. Carly Young. All my recurring dreams are nightmares. Tripod made of a sword in a human body. Same. Still, you could have gotten more laughs with that act than my set. Trisect a butterfly. And that's exactly when I wake up. Inkless pen. Is this conversation a recurring dream for you? Crumpled up paper. I'll have to ask my therapist and get back to you on that. Shame. Well, I don't want to hold you up. Don't want to make your date jealous. Envy. Fuck him. Majora. I hear he's a good guy. Hedda Gobbler. I could throw a rock any direction and hit a good guy. Nothello. Knowing your luck, you just break a window. Alana Smithy. Might break my wrist throwing it. What about your day? She seems like the jealous type. Norpheus. Funny. I didn't want to drive back alone. Lady Macbeth. Aw, Brendan couldn't find a real woman, so he had to take his sister to the prom. And all this time, you couldn't find one woman to want you? Pig on a plate. You didn't. Whore. I didn't deserve you. Edvard Munchausen syndrome. I could never be good enough, so you moved on. Shadowbox. I couldn't live with what I had done to you. You didn't deserve to put yourself through the life we had. Anarchist. I think what I deserve is my choice. Prostate. And you couldn't make it, so I made it easy for you. You had so much potential. Ouroboros. What if I didn't want my potential? I only wanted you. God wearing a woman's face. And threw it all away. You had a second chance at life and let it dry up. The sacrifice of our life, all that pain, was for nothing. Ellipsis. What if it was for this moment? Is what they might have said if they ever spoke to each other again. But he walked out past her and through the doors to the balcony. I believe this is titled Monad? M-O-N-A-D? I forget the pronunciation. Sorry, I'm not trying to show off my armpit hair. Haven't. My daughter's wedding, where my parents were once wed. My father is here. These are a bunch of haikus. Flower girl daughter. My own mother's wedding band on her finger now. I just want to cry, not for joy, but to blur all of them from my sight. Try your best not to. Remember the one person who could not make it. Paradiso, but in Purgatorio. I'm just an inferno. Experiences lost, a life spent and now regained, promises honored. Wearing my white shoes, clean for all appearances, the soles are filthy. Star Wars: A New Hope, in Crimes and Misdemeanors, in black tie, white noise. Are my legs shaking? Everyone is watching us. I want to go swim. Just 6 more hours, and then I can go home and take a long, hot shower. I'm sorry for the things I have said, and also the things left unsaid. Just picture her here, then and now, photographed and watching over us. Forgive and regret, the scent is cleared, stains remain, faded to memories. I can see Grandma, I can smell the men's cologne. I am so bored. If I am lucky, this will be the last wedding I have to sit through. Divine, pure, and white, she is painted alien. Who is this woman? If I go to the bathroom and say I'm sick, I can play an app game. I'd rather you be happy with someone else than unhappy with me. Glinda. Somehow, Grandma fit herself, my brother, and I on a queen-size mattress to spare parents some solitude for their matrimonial nights. We were curled up on each side of her. What seemed magic in the daytime turned malevolent in the moonlight. Running around with my magnifying glass, checking under the bed for ghosts, and feeling between the bottoms of jackets in the closet for a witch's broom was no longer a game. After dark, they were the ones inspecting the hotel for me. I might not have seen anything earlier, but now a discolored arm with broken, black nails reaching out from under the bed to grab me and pull me under felt like a real possibility. Would they eat me or make a slave of me? Force me to work as their decoy? A seemingly innocent little girl asking other children to play when they were just out of their parents' eyesight to lure them into the monster's den? I couldn't do that to another kid. Not even a smelly brat like my brother. That might be worse than just being eaten. I could picture myself, skin peeling and blue with teeth whittled into fangs, behind chapped lips, and I'd have to dress like one of the goth kids from old movies. That would not be a good look for me. Finally, exhaustion won the battle against fear, and I was swinging on the wooden swing in our backyard. I'd push my legs out in the air, then tuck them back in as I descended. Grandma said I was kicking her in my sleep the next day. She wasn't angry or mean about it. She was just telling me. Suddenly, some rotten smell. It smelled like something was dead just on the other side of the tree where I couldn't see. It smelled like something a witch would steal to put in her cauldron. It was my brother's ass, sighing in his slumber, where the monsters were trucks and he won every race. I knew it was him. I'd been stuck in the back seat with him long enough to know his odors by name. I was woken by dead skunk, one of his favorite fragrances to admit. So it couldn't be a witch, but what if it lures a witch to us? Witches are nasty and like gross things. To them, his farts must be delicious. What if my brother just doomed all three of us? While we're in bed, witches were being led by their nostrils straight to us. Then, the noises, the sound of adults, saying things I couldn't understand but knew I shouldn't be hearing. I felt like I was going to get in trouble if anyone found out I heard. I couldn't wake Grandma, but what if these were the witches? What if the sound of smacking lips was because they knew dinner was coming? I breathed staccato and my muscles tightened, putting my body into lockdown. My toes were spaced as far apart as they could go, like they were trying to escape my body. I wished that I could too. I could fly away, go from ghost hunter to ghost, anything to get away from here. Grandma shot up and my brother fell out of bed. She ran her fingers through my hair and asked if I was okay. Then she checked on my brother, whose cheeks were turning patchy red as he started to quietly sob. He would go on to live. She got him back up on the bed and sat upright with both of us leaning into her while we shook and cried and she rubbed our heads. She asked what my nightmare had been. I told her that I had heard there was a witch in this hotel. She told me, the only witch in this hotel is me. All the other witches are too afraid of me to come out because I'm the meanest of them all. That made me feel safe. Aaron Texter's Reference Guide. A comprehensive list of the things Aaron Texter was reminded of during the ceremony. Silent Hill 2. The Sigur Rós song. VAR. D-looking symbol. ELDUR. Pride and Prejudice by James Austen. That's so funny, James Austen. The Dubliners by James Joyce. Wild Strawberries. Stardust Memories. The Portrait of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. The Godfather, probably. Crimes and Misdemeanors. Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. The Beautiful and the Damned by F. Scott Fitzgerald. La Dolce Vita. David Bowie's album, Black Tie, White Noise. Picasso's Guernica. Ingmar Bergman's Fanny and Alexander. Fremd Shaman. Oh my god, look who's here. Mom, this is DeMarcus. Yeah, I told you about him. If we're lucky, this is who we'll be co-parenting with before long. Hey, DeMarcus, I wasn't allowed to wear Yeezys. I wasn't allowed to get Yeezys to wear here. Meg said there's no need to order them because she'd call the wedding off if I tried. Could you imagine, though? People be slipping on the dance floor from all the drip. No, I'm still so jealous of yours. I'll get a pair for my funeral. Put it in my will they have to put me bottoms up in the casket so you just see my feet in a pair of boots. Women will be crying and holding them. Hey, DeMarcus, can you show me how to do that dance? The one from, the Dougie. Once you show me, we can do it together and it would look so cool. What kind of shoes are those again? Jordans? Oh, okay. No, they're cool as heck. That's why I was like, no way are those Jordans. They're too cool. But like, Jordans are cool too, but I think these are even nicer. Bro, I'm so glad you're here. I was so worried Ione was going to show up with another man. I'm sorry, I'm not trying to call her like a slut. That was a joke. It came out wrong. DeMarcus, I want you to pick the next song. Yeah, I told DeMarcus to grow his stash out for Halloween, and we could look Hall & Oates. I'd wear a wig. Maybe we could be George and Harold from Captain Underpants next year. Couldn't recover from a good thing. James, are you up? Yeah. Thank you. For today. Sure. Anything for my girl. It isn't about having a fairy tale wedding. It's about having something to show our children. Something they can show their children when we're gone. Proof we were ever young. Stop. It's okay to have a serious moment every now and again. You can open up to me. I want to open up to you, but it can be hard when you're so clamped shut. Sorry, dear. Think about this. When was the last time you got to see all your boys together? When will be the next time? The next wedding? A funeral? We have to make these moments while we have the time. Someday, we'll be able to look back at the pictures today and think about the time we got to see everyone. You're right. As always, promise me, if I die before you, that you'll show the pictures we took today to our grandkids. I won't have to. I'll die long before you. Please, James. I promise, but it's no use. I wouldn't last a day without you. B23. What is wrong with movies these days? The cowboys in this one seem more interested in watching the wind blow than finding the missing child. If there's anything going on under their bucket hats, they fail to express it through dialogue. Certainly not while they're being chastised by the women in their cavalry. They just look down at the ground during their regularly scheduled sermons about their faults between each commercial break. Bo doesn't seem to mind. He's content on his pillow at the foot of the bed, certainly happier than if he had stayed at home. Maybe this wasn't as nice as the hotel the rest were lodging in, but that hotel doesn't allow dogs. Neither does this motel just off the highway, where each semi that passes through seems to shake the whole room. But Don has a feeling they'd be more likely to honor a don't ask, don't tell policy. They have bigger problems, and smaller creatures, estimating by what Don noticed behind the toilet, to worry about. ONU, O-N-U, brackets, politeness, please. Can we just take a moment to appreciate how weird this all is? Like me being asked to be here, let alone having a say in anything. My ex-wife is a maid of honor, and the mother of the groom's daughter, the flower girl. We might as well have Jerry Springer officiate. Well, that's a dated reference. Maury Popovich might be a little more modern. It's okay to laugh, I think. Wes used to be a writer. He also used to be a butthead. He's had more what he would call character development than anyone else I know. And he still has so much more to work on. Kidding. That was a joke. Sorry. He used to write books for who else but himself. And now he writes stories for his kids to fall asleep to. And anyone who's read his stories knows they can put you to sleep. The truth is, a part of me used to look down on Wes. And now I look up to him. Who else could bring out the best in a man like Wes but Maggie? Wes must have made a good deal with God for that one. She's not only a great stepmother to Maddie, but is raising her son to be the best man in this room or any other. I enjoy Mag's company. No one starts an argument or finishes a joke with a perfect punchline like her. But more importantly, I appreciate what she's contributed to the lives of those around her. But I don't need to tell anyone here how lucky we are to have them. So please rate Ghost Watch, brackets, Oversight Hotel. I was allowed to go to the end of the hall, within Grandma's line of sight, but would peer down the halls to see if there were any ghost girls waiting to play with me. I didn't see the movie until my first year of undergrad, but somehow I was familiar with the twins and had a phase of wanting my house to be haunted by girls my age to play with. It would be like a sleepover every night. I'd also recently discovered Nancy Drew, and was in a phase where I carried a large magnifying glass toy and looked at everything through it, including the hallway I was peeping around. Now, if this was a made-up story, some works of fiction, I would say that I saw something I wasn't supposed to. If this was genre fiction, it would be some monster or fantastical sight, the burning feather of a phoenix, or my stepmother kissing another man. If it was a work of literary fiction, it would be some insight into the adult world my childhood had been planted into. Maybe it would be Uncle B looking exhausted and sad. Nope. He was in the hallway and was happy to see us. He gave my brother and I a big hug before I ran off to explore within the perimeters I was permitted. All I saw was an empty hall. When I returned to Grandma, I couldn't come back empty-handed. She had seen me rummaging through the hotel, checking the closet and under the sink for ghost children who might be hiding from us and who could be convinced by a very cool kid to play, and asked if I had found any ghosts. "Yup," I said. "Didn't you now? Was it a friendly ghost?" "It was Uncle Matt." I don't know why I said that. My Uncle Matt was probably the only dead person I knew to name. Her face dropped. I could tell playtime was over. No, it was Uncle Matt. He was friendly." "Give me that." I pulled the magnifying glass in, tucking it between my arm and body. She yanked it out by the handle. "That's not a funny joke. We don't make up stories like that. What you said was hurtful. That made me sad. Do you want to see your grandma sad?" I shook my head no. My face was already probably blotchy and the tears en route to the floor. "I'm sorry," I whimpered. +1, brackets, West Wing. I'm not going to do voices. I'm just going to say this now. This is going to be a white guy impersonating. It's going to be a white guy not impersonating a character of color who is written in this story. How much you want to bet I'll be the only brother in white? Oh, shut up. I'm just saying, how many of these people did your sperm donor meet at a Klan rally? First of all, he's Maddie's father. Secondly, they go to Trump rallies, not Klan rallies. Same diff, not to them. They're the I'm not racist but types. You white-splaining to me now? Yeah, what are you going to do about it? He slaps her ass. That's Maggie's family anyways. So the people Maddie will grow up around. Don't even get me started. If it makes you feel any better, Wes was so ecstatic when he found out he was like 1% black. Oh, it's an interracial marriage. He'll look good getting married in a dashiki. How much you want to bet he's going to ask what I think about his shoes? Your approval means a lot to him. Notice how he wears that Cowboys cap every time he's around ever since I said it was cool? I still can't believe you told him that SoundCloud was yours. He still texts me when that guy drops a new song to tell me how I'm getting better every track. No, he does not, he shows her. You know, I'm your plus one, right? He'd be so heartbreaking if you didn't show. I was only invited for the kid. To me, this is hell. Everyone is here. Mom, Dad, Jackie, Donnie. The lake was giving birth to them all. They emerged from the lake 2 by 2. Their clothes and hair were dry. They hadn't aged a day in decades. It was old photos come to life, and it was like old photos came to life and were marching towards him. The cast of his life was on parade to take a look into what a disappointment old Jim aged into. You look like hell, Jimmy. I didn't raise my boy to treat women like this. Congratulations, son. Worked on his family about as much as he worked his shifts, I see. Everyone but her. But then she was. Her lips move, but he cannot remember to hear them. Their echo will resound throughout his waking day. She reaches out to him, takes his hand into her own, pries the fingers from their palm, places a stone in his hand, their stone. He nearly fell out of bed, but at least he didn't wake the woman, who suddenly felt at once like both family and a total stranger. Slowly, he opened his fist, still clenched and shaking. It was empty. Anaphora. Is the groom acting weird to you? He is weird, so for him, our weird would be normal. If what you're asking is if he seems normal to me, no. He just seems like he's avoiding us. I feel like they don't want me to be here. They don't, but they want me to be here. And don't want me to have to be alone. What did I do? I don't even know these people. You make Mags jealous. Why would she be jealous of me? I don't know. I told them you put on weight. Hey, she punches his arm. You're eating the same meals I cook. We used to make fun of him for being into you. She wasn't in on the joke, having never met you, but she definitely took notice. So you probably make the groom nervous, and then he gets self-conscious because he's going to piss off his Italian wife. But despite being an asshole, he's more bashful than a frightened rabbit and doesn't want to offend you. Well, at least his wife doesn't have that problem. No, she doesn't seem to mind offending you, or anyone for that matter. Is there something left of you in the places your memories are kept? Submission for the 2019 Mule Writers Grant by the woman to be known as Maggie Thompson. I remember the day you arrived in the hospital. I was so excited to meet you. Everyone was so excited to meet you. Grandpa was in such a rush to get to you that he got pulled over. The cop understood and let us off with a warning when he heard why you were in such a hurry. Why we were in such a hurry. Grandma carried her in, and I sat on her lap, leaning my weight up against her purse. We got to hear your voice for the first time, and you were passed around for everyone to hold and inspect you. You'd already eaten before we showed up, and were soon to sleep. I was placed in the crib beside you that night at home. You rolled around over me and would sometimes throw a chubby arm over my neck or body. That first week home, when Dad was changing you, you decided to take another pee, and all three of us were covered. Dad washed you and himself up before throwing me in with the laundry. That was fun. I got to ride in the stroller with you and was often invited to the grandparents as an essential item, along with your binkies, bottles, and diapers. You drool on me, and when you started teething sometimes, you get caught chewing on my ear. Soon, as you began sitting upright, Mom and Dad would sit me up right next to you. We'd watch all your favorite shows together. I was used as bait to get you walking. Mom and Dad used to take me everywhere for you, but before long, no one could carry me but you. You invented a community of new friends, both plush and invisible. We'd have parties and camp out in the living room under a fort of blankets. You began making up stories about me as soon as you learned to talk and told me your secrets once you started keeping them. I used to play nurse, and I was your assistant, diagnosing and bandaging our friends in your bedroom office. The Halloween episode of a cartoon one night ended with a ghost flying towards a TV screen, and you begged Dad not to make you go back to your room. Every shadow cast by the nightlight looked like it was lurking over your bed, waiting for the opportunity to pounce. He said you were too old to spend the night in their room, but he set me upright against the headboard of our bed and said I would protect you in your sleep. You thanked me with a hug when you woke up safe the next morning. You grew and got big. You grew and got a big, new bed, but I kept watch at the corner past where your feet could reach. One time, you woke up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and in your stirring, knocked me to the floor. You didn't wake your parents or tell anyone, but when you noticed me, your first drowsy thought was that a ghost had tossed me aside. As your room got more crowded, you were held responsible for putting all the second-class toys away in your chest before bed. When Mom found the candy wrappers you shoved into the space between your mattress and wall one day, she went on a rampage through the room with a trash bag, shoving everyone out of line indiscriminately into that black hole. When she found me once more on the floor by the end of your bed, you screamed and grabbed her. You screamed and grabbed both her ankles like a prisoner in the movies. You begged her to spare me. When she threw me into the bag, you ran into the kitchen to grab her phone and call Grandma. She had you give the phone to Mom, and they had a small talk. We didn't see each other for a long time after that. Not until you were able to drive yourself to Grandma's funeral. She had Grandpa give me back to you with a parting letter. I was the same as you remembered, except for a new tattoo written on my paw in marker. Bye. When you held me that night, I smelled like your grandparents' house. Sometimes, when your parents were asleep and your door was shut, you'd confess to me. I was promoted from protector to therapist. You told me about the girls at your school, the boys, the things your parents couldn't understand. I'd watch you study and you'd rehearse presentations for me. When it came time to leave home for a dorm room, I was a part of home that got to tag along. You kept me on your desk, and sometimes when you talked to yourself under your breath so your roommate couldn't hear, it felt like you were still talking to me. We moved around a bit in the next few years. You got a room of your own and eventually a whole place. You were home less often, you wore scrubs when you walked in the door, but before long, we got a new roommate. This one slept in the same bed as with us. He would have other women over while you were at work. The day after you found a long strand of hair that couldn't be yours, he threw me and all our stuff onto the front yard. I landed face down in the grass. You had to leave work crying when he sent you the picture message of the litter. I was the first thing you scooped up, and you placed me safe in the passenger seat of your van that you once rode in the back seat of. We spent the night back home, but came back when he called with an hour of apologies and another half hour of promises. I was in the bag you brought to the hospital and got to meet your daughter before Mom and Dad were able to make it to the hospital. It was like watching you have a second childhood. I get to see the woman you grew into raise a child who deserved a mother like you. We didn't see much of each other until our son was the age you were when you had her. After he became a teenager, and I was no longer of as much use to him as a skateboard, your daughter kept me in her bedroom closet. As your hair grew gray, my fur faded. This time, I wasn't taken to a hospital but a nursing home. You were now a widow and no longer able to care for yourself. Your family didn't have room in their homes or lives to take care of you, but it wasn't their choice. You would get in the car and get lost. You called your son, thinking he was your late husband. You lost a lot of money to scam callers. I was taken to you after you began asking for Mom and Dad. You couldn't recognize your daughter, but you remembered who I am. You held me close and wouldn't let me go. The staff had to pry me from your grasp to get you in the bath, and you cried until they learned to keep me in the room so you could make sure they weren't trying to steal me. That grip tightened as your fingers began to curl inward. In your sleep, you tore my chest open. When a new employee tried to get me off you so I could be thrown away, you screamed and shook, leaking me all over your sheets. When the woman who comes to visit noticed, she tried to steal me from you, but you wouldn't let her. Her boy left for a while and came back with some needles and thread. You let her sew me up, a little emptier but no longer gaping. You went silent. The room was quiet except for the wind of your breath and the beeping of the machines connected to you. The room was flooded with life as you left. The machine started screeching and staff rushed in. Calls were made, and I was in a box with some of your other belongings. A framed picture of your wedding day and your daughter's family. On the day of your showing, I was tucked into your embrace. Yellowed pictures taken of us when you were a baby were taken from the family archives to display on a table at the entrance of the parlor. The funeral director knew of your final living condition by the bend of your fingers. Everyone came to tell us goodbye, and then our coffin was closed. Unconditional. She has a superpower where time stops and everything and everyone else in the room is blurred out. She makes me thankful for my regrets. Her breath is my forgiveness. My demons are afraid of her. She's evidence of God's existence. Every cell of her body is a brushstroke of a masterpiece. Her life clockwork set in motion by the greatest clocksmith. No one else is as funny as her. No other smile can part the clouds. She can tame a dragon, make him her pet. She is a lantern keeping the darkness at bay. The world reflected in her eyes is the context from which I see. She cleared my unforgivable debt. I live to pay her soul back for swimming into my life. She makes me feel like I can run 10 miles. I'm not afraid of public speaking anymore because when she's in the room, she's my only audience. I want her to see how a woman should be treated. She freed me from myself. Turns out, all I needed was a good thing. I walk with a limp in my dreams now. The unlucky man's key did not fit in the door he was assigned. The awkward man had to go back to the desk clerk to request another. The exiled man hugs former family. The shameful man snatched the keys from her hand before shuffling off, like a bug whose rock had just been lifted by a real human being. The fucking idiot tripped over the carpet just after the stairs. The soft speaker probably forgot his speech at home. The poor audience would be better off if he had. The lonely man wondered how many times he would jerk off in this hotel. The naive man wondered if he would have to spend the night alone in it. The disgusting man forgot a change of socks. The exhausted man splashes cold water in his face. The balding man should have shaved his head this morning before the stubble could out him. The fat man hoped he would still fit into his attire tomorrow and hadn't gained too much weight since he was fitted. The miserable man does not want to head back out to entertain his sister, who he owes. The honest man would wish he died on the car ride here if she wasn't in the passenger seat. Homecoming. Who is this? James, who is this woman? Is she here with you? Was she around our children, James? What are you going to do about this? I gave you my life, my years, my body. You can't just take hers too. Have you thought about what you're going to do when you get to heaven, James? You don't get to take two. Why me? Tyler Richardson only shared 2 classes with her in the 6th grade, but she filled an entire notebook with his name, sometimes changing it up for her name if they got married. He took Abigail to the fall dance instead, which felt personal even if they had never spoken to each other. He had moved before the 7th grade began. We ran into him when he was picking his son up from Maddie's school. He was a dentist and fat. Immature, but we got out of there swift. Chris Wilson was 16, and therefore had a learner's permit. His parents let him stay home while they went on vacation, and he picked her up in the park each day where her parents thought she was hanging out with friends. His father let him smoke while helping in the garage, but grounded him for stealing the half-pack left on the kitchen counter as well as a handle of whiskey. Her parents drove to the park, and wouldn't let her walk to the park the rest of that summer when they found out she'd been lying about her whereabouts after a few days of this anyways. She identified strongly with Romeo and Juliet when she read it for her 7th grade English class that fall. Jonathan Matthew. Dear God. I don't know if the boy had a last name, but I've heard his middle enough for one lifetime. He played baseball with her younger brother and was in advanced classes with the oldest of the family, so he's a family friend before he even asked her to prom. They were high school sweethearts for 2 whole years. He was her first everything, so far as her parents know, and I think their hearts are still broken. The 2 only survived his first semester of college after graduating. He enlisted in the military and is still in communication with the family. Randy, Ben, and Dylan went to her undergrad college, and yeah, better just tune out when their names are mentioned. Don't need those pictures in my head. Travis makes my annual earnings in a quarter. He rides first class like I take lifts. Probably worries far less about the cost. Had he been the one, the wedding would take place on some island, and he would have paid for everyone's travel and lodging. The only thing he couldn't pay was attention to his woman. Sorry, sometimes I give myself the ick. Nate and her only saw each other for a few weeks and decided they're better off friends. Will went out a few times, and I hate to say it, but he's a cool guy. He should be here soon. I look forward to seeing him. Who the fuck am I? Eavesdroppings. It's a painting with a short description like in a museum in a glass case. No, I didn't see that. Where was it? On the wall? On the right side, over a little stand with a flower on it. Which hall is your room in? East. Oh, I'm the West Wing. Be careful. I saw the Wicked Witch was over there. Huh? The movie Wizard of Oz? Yeah, I get it, but was that just like a reference? Someone who we shall not name is rooming over there. Oh, I see. Are you still there? While you ladies were getting prepared this morning, I made this for you. James, our initials on a stone? That is so cute. I was shocked he could spell. Oh, hush. Hey, it might have been James' idea, but I still put in the work on this one here. Actually, Jack and I made stones for everyone when things were slow at work this past month. I did a few more. This is what y'all were doing when I had to fix that carbonator all by myself? This is wonderful, James. Jimmy can be a real sweetheart when he isn't too busy being a bastard. That better not be part of your speech tomorrow. Nothing but the highest praise for my Jimmy and the luckiest woman alive. If I make a suggestion, James, do you promise not to get offended? Offended? Well, this is so beautiful, and this night was so I want a part of us to be here forever. I don't think we can afford to buy the place out, love. Hush, you're starting to sound like Jackie. What is it that you want? What if we took all the stones and threw them in the lake? That way, no matter where we go or what happens to any of us, a piece of us will be here together for all time. She's saying she likes the gift so much she wants to throw it in the lake. If that's what you want, love. I do. I think that would be so beautiful. Hey, if she changes her mind, Donnie can fish it out. If you're sure. Jimmy's worried we're going to see he can't throw as good as half the ladies here. Twice as far as you, Jack. Yeah? Want to bet the first round on it? I bet Margie can throw twice as far as you. Oh, James, I could... It's your gift, your idea. Give it a good skip. Yeah, I like that. Bride against the best man. That'll be the entertainment for tonight. Okay, you can go first. Ladies first, especially on your night. All right, Margaret, give it a skip. 3, 2, 1. Nice. I have to say, I'm impressed. Anyways, here goes nothing. You're right about one thing. That was nothing. Jimmy gave him a nod. Jack could have thrown his stone out of eyesight if he wanted to. This one here is titled after Shakespeare in Afra. It's O, 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 O. It's written as a play. Exterior. Second best man looking out of the lake after James leaves. Groom joins him. Groom. If you're looking for dorsal fins, there are no sharks in these waters. I already asked the staff. Second best man. You sure they're not covering it up so you don't have to cancel the festivities? That is a possibility I've not considered. You know Maggie's a conspiracy theorist in the house. What are you doing out here? Don't they have any more pictures or hugs? Don't they need any more pictures or hugs? Enough is enough. Enough is not enough with them. I'd rather check up on Brendan. Yeah, I guess I would too, given the alternative. How's it going? Saving any bridesmaids for the rest of them on the dance floor? Funny. Real funny. For real, how are you? It looks like you keep losing service in your head. Yeah, I just feel bad. About your sister being your date to a wedding. I would have loved to take your sister to a wedding, but lifts his hand showing his wedding band. I just worry that people mistake my unhappiness with myself for not being happy for you. I am. It's beautiful and inspirational, but it's also painful. Like, this is a garden in hell. And that's miraculous, but I can still see my life going up in flames around it. I get that. Yeah? How do you think I felt at your wedding, bro? Oh. What happened to us? Us? Yeah, you're a 34-year-old sad boy, and I became boring. The only character development I get these days is learning to put the seat back down. I can't wait for the husband learns to flush arc. Might have you be a more regular character on the set of the sitcom my sister and I put on every week. Well, I understand this has been difficult for you, seeing the Wicked Witch and all. Who? Oh, right. But it means a lot that you showed up despite that, and you being here makes us happy. You're family to us, and we don't want to judge or think less of you. Whether you own a business or not, or if you're divorced or living with your sister, we are just happy to have you in our lives. You're more to us than any accomplishment or failure. We all live with shame and regrets. The only thing we expect of you is to take care of yourself. We don't want anyone abusing our friends, especially not themselves. Check in. How's it going? Having so much stress diarrhea that my butt burns. I didn't need to know that detail. Why not? You talked about your pregnancy sickness. That's not the same, Wes. Otherwise, I'm so beyond anxious that I'm just numb to it. How are you? Enjoying myself. It's nice to see Aaron. He doesn't so call himself that, does he? No, but it's fun to tease him. It is. He's a goober, but he's a good guy. I hope. Yeah? Yeah, he strikes me as the type to seem nice until you see what's in his basement. He would make a very bad serial killer. You're right. Too neurotic for that lifestyle. Unlike you. What I meant to say was, how have you been? Fine. Nothing exciting. Work, school, then chasing the kid around. How's that for you? You care? No, I was just making conversation. Thought so. You're just an object to me, you know? Understandable. What an appropriate conversation to be having at your wedding. Maybe a little. Maybe you care a little? Yeah, but I'm not supposed to show it. Gotta act all stoic. That's it. Can't let anybody know I'm capable of weakness. Are you? Obviously not. But anyways, I hope you're doing well. Thanks. You too. Congratulations, by the way. Thank you. And I don't see you as an object or in that way at all. No offense. That was just a joke. I know, Wes. Cool. I just second guess myself sometimes. Hey, have you seen Brendan's sister? I'm not really interested in talking about how hot Anna looks. Nor am I. That's why I must hide. Maggie will kill us both. Or you could just not stare at or flirt with her. That is an option. Not for mortal men. But she is looking amazing tonight. Did you see what she did with her hair? I hate you. In the dress? It reveals just enough thigh to tease tastefully. I hope you fall in the lake and drown. She looks so good in that lipstick. It'd be worth it to walk all around with it all over your face and collar. It wouldn't even be evidence. Each lipstick stamp would be a trophy. Goodbye, Ione. Give her time and Anna might have the makings of unlucky lady number 3. And she'd make for such good pillow talk. I noticed her getting pretty animated in some argument over, I said good day, ma'am. So there are ways to scare him off. I've picked up on a thing or two over the years. Life reflects art. What's that? What? Oh, my notebook. Duh. What are you writing, Aaron? I haven't called that in a long time. He went by Aaron back in high school. He ran a book club. Just some notes. Is the head of the book club writing a book of his own? Nah. Looks like poetry. He writing bars? Just a list. Groceries for the way home. Ranking the women here. Does it make you uncomfortable to think about me reading it? Yes. Well, yes, because it's rude, but not because of what I'm writing. Here, take a look. These are just movies and books and albums. Yep. Why? To keep myself in the moment. I'm always seeing things through this lens of fiction where what art each moment reminds me of, which character a person acts like, what painting or photograph or set each room looks like. If I'm writing it down, that tethers me to reality. This notebook is my anchor. Oh. Well, that explains that. So how are the kids? Adjusting to their new stepfather. Co-parenting isn't easy. Trust me, I know. Definitely. It's like Kramer versus Kramer. Memories you asked for your stupid class. The only things I remember about Mom and Dad's wedding are standing up in front of everybody next to Uncle B because I was the best man even though I was too young to talk yet. Only word I could say then, and for the longest time, done. Even if I wasn't, I would say that because it's the only word I knew. And how every time Dad watched Star Wars at the end when they're receiving their medals, it reminded me of that. Grandpa was talking to some other old guy and drinking, and I kept stepping on his feet. IDKY. I thought it was funny for some reason. And he snapped at me, stop that, and it scared me and made me feel bad because I had never heard him angry before. At the service, after Mom and Dad kissed, they lifted me up to the microphone. I did see The Lion King by then and felt like Simba, and I said, done.